Перетягивай душу музыкой на зло. Я тону в этой саге, пока дымится нутро. Перебереги мою любовь, перебереги мою душу. Переспал без слов.
In a world where a zombie apocalypse reigns supreme, supplies and weapons are the only things that matter to the survivors. Unlike the rest, our MC has everything he needs. Xiaoyang knew that the apocalypse was coming soon and prepared in advance. He built his fortress, stocked up on supplies, and gathered his friends to live comfortably in the midst of the apocalypse. But all the supplies would have run out soon if he hadn't received a system that gives him tasks to complete. By doing so, he receives loot boxes with valuable rewards, resources, and buffs that make him stronger. And it all started, as always, with betrayal. Inside an abandoned warehouse, our main character is hanging onto a thread. Literally. Below him are a bunch of zombies, ready to have their meal served fresh. Zhang Xiaoyang's shitty girlfriend calls him out and takes great joy in telling him that she has already killed all his friends. Poor Xiaoyang reflects on his life, realizing that he has made some serious mistakes and they've cost him his friends' lives. He deems himself at fault, shouting at the woman and promising her a painful death. But of course, an empty threat like that from the position he's in means nothing to this bitch, who clings to her sugar daddy and moans about getting her feelings hurt. The Fatso leader thinks it's time for them to see Xiaoyang tortured to death. To rub salt on the wound, he even thanks our boy for leaving behind all of his supplies, which will help sustain them for a few months without any worries. And well, our main character meets his doom as he falls into the cage of zombies. The freak shows immediately pounce on him, tearing apart his flesh, as he remains helpless, writhing in pain. Though Xiaoyang's screams reach the skies, he makes a final declaration with a vengeance. If he's given a second chance by Truck Kun, he's going to make it his life's goal to destroy both Qijing and Li Shuxiang. The regression isekai gods apparently heard his wish because in the very next scene, Bro awakens in his past self. In front of him is Qijing, giving us a nice view of her dump truck to redeem herself. Being the gold digger that she is, she shouts at our boy for not adding her name to his property. Xiaoyang exclusively ignores her yapping and processes the situation around him. He quickly realizes that he's regressed to a time just before the apocalypse sent the world to hell. A weight of guilt looms over him, as he recalls the painful betrayal he experienced at the hands of Qijing, the fake hoe who graduated from the University of Yapology. The betrayal resulted in his family's inheritance getting squashed, as well as his wealth getting destroyed. Damn, I don't even think a zombie apocalypse was necessary. This woman is a walking apocalypse herself. Let's talk about the specifics of what happened. Just like your typical zombie outbreak story, humans suddenly became infected with a virus and began hunting each other down. Thanks to Xiaoyang's excellent connections and reliable friends, he was able to form a safe zone to help the survivors. Everything was proceeding smoothly, until one day, the apologist arrived to seek shelter. She pretended to be helpless and lost, and because of her pathetic state, our boy took pity on her and invited her in. That became his most regrettable mistake he ever made. Playing the nice guy cost him. She easily took advantage of the situation and invited her own group inside the safe zone. The fact that this same woman is standing a few feet apart from him and shouting at him to give him money is all you need to know about how insufferable she is. Our boy is giving her the look of death and wants to strangle her, but he knows that there's no point rushing things right now. However, he does shove her outside because she just won't shut up. The door slams shut on Qijing's face, and her confusion is satisfying to see. The same dude who she treated as her slave all this time suddenly has the balls to kick her out without any issues. Back to his apartment, Xiaoyang quickly glances at the calendar, realizing that he's only got a month in preparation before the world-ending apocalypse rears its head on him. Suddenly, something strange happens as a system screen pops up, activating the apocalypse system. His objective is to own a piece of land and prepare a year's worth of supplies. Something tells me the system must be taking inspiration from Genghis Khan. Did I mention the reward? It's 10 points, which can be exclusively exchanged for rewards at the store. Seeing the happy expression on his face, you can tell how Xiaoyang's feeling. He's really glad to discover his fancy new system that can help him manage through the apocalypse. Inside the store, there are only 3 items for now: an enhancement potion, a survival kit, and a protagonist's supply box, which I find interesting. Each of them can be exchanged for different point costs. Things are already going better for him than he anticipated, as Xiaoyang quickly remembers just how miserable he was during this point in his life. Because he wanted to gather every tiny penny for Qijing's dowry, he skipped out on his meals and starved himself to save costs. Imagine doing all of that for a girl that still ends up betraying you. Anyway, he grabs his phone, realizing he should order some food because the zombies won't let him have any of it anyway. That same night, the scene cuts to him savoring at the sight of his dinner, personalizing his expensive takeout experience. Bro is so eager to taste quality pork that the moment he takes a single bite, he gets the power of the gods and becomes shredded as hell. Just kidding, but that's definitely how it feels because of the amazing taste. So he starts munching down on the food like a Victorian child who hasn't eaten in days, and the next thing he knows is his phone blasting up. Xiaoyang checks it and realizes that it's a call from Jing's best friend, Wen Shuya. In typical toxic best friend fashion, she starts mouthing off at him on the phone for dismissing his girlfriend. The chick gets on his nerves so much that he hangs up on her. Instead, he focuses on his objective to acquire a piece of land. His current goal is to build a powerful fortress that can easily be defended, but also shares the facility of water and forests nearby. So the following day, our boy gets to work. He's making way inside a real estate company and talks to a property consultant to assist him with his request. She greets her customer, inquiring about his intentions to buy or rent a house. Before he could answer, their conversation is interrupted by Xiaoning's superior, who orders her to work on bottom-tier tasks instead of being at the front. This asshole is actually the company's sales manager, Zhu. He shoves her aside and tells her to go work at the back, even though she was perfectly fine assisting a client. Manager Zhu is a discriminating corporate douchebag who calls Xiaoyang a brokey from one look at his outfit. Our boy quickly defends himself, calling out the disrespectful manager's words. Instead of apologizing, the manager doubles down on his take, emphasizing that people like Xiaoyang can't even afford a toilet, and therefore shouldn't be taken seriously. Xiaoyang despises this guy's guts and promises to ruin his confidence with his next move. Bro whips out an American Express card and proudly declares that he's here to buy land. The fact that he's out here to buy land causes all of them to get startled and roaring in shock, realizing that they've struck gold with this customer. The consultant Xiaoning nicely tells him to come along, as she'll brief him properly with a detailed account. The whole thing gets under Manager Zhu's nerves, who thinks that this kid is bragging without any money to back it up for it. In the next scene, Xiaoning presents him with a list of land options for him to purchase. But our boy's not here to look around from a list. Instead, he plans to speak his exact requirements so they can get something for him. First off, he wants the place to be near the mountains with a fresh and flowing water source. A proper transportation system should also be there. And lastly, he'd prefer a factory or a big house situated upon it. With his exact requirements in mind, Xiaoning considers her options. Manager Zhu decides to swing in with a recommendation in order to humiliate our boy. It's true that there's a plot in the East District, but it's incomplete and riddled with unfinished factories and other complications. That's why Xiaoning doesn't want to recommend it. However, this arrogant lad doesn't care. He thinks that Xiaoyang is intentionally litzing ridiculous requirements because a customer like him never has any intention of buying in the first place. To that, our boy raises a question, wanting to know if the East District plot really does satisfy his requirements. Xiaoning agrees, but reminds him about the unfinished factories and the project leader exiting the project. Checking the records of the plot, Xiaoyang quickly realizes that he might actually have something going for him. This is a nice plot, easy to defend with a barbed wire enclosure and difficult to approach or attack. The fact that there are unfinished factories is a bonus for him. Right away, he agrees to purchase the plot and sign the contract. The polite consultant lowers her head in agreement, but she's totally shocked that her customer is about to buy a place with unfinished factories roaming around. Xiaoyang doesn't exactly give a damn and wants the contract to be brought up, so he can shove some shit in the manager's mouth. Hilariously, in the next scene, Manager Zhu is screaming at the bill, questioning how the hell anyone could leave a giant deposit. It doesn't make sense to cover millions for a plot with a bunch of rundown factories on it. Here's the best part. Xiaoyang quickly turns up to remind him about the deal. Since he's purchased the plot, the manager has to eat a fresh load of crap. As Xiaoyang is walking away, even the other customers are ridiculing the manager, streaming his reaction and awaiting his performance. They're so ready to volunteer for the task. Let's go back to our boy. Recalling his two main missions from the Apocalypse system, he's just taken care of one by spending his bride money on purchasing land. His next concern is to stockpile a ton of resources for a year. As he's walking away, Shuxiang actually sees him and wonders what the guy is doing here. Fudgy the whale then glances at the ridiculous scene taking place in front of him. People have Manager Zhu on his knees, and they're force-feeding him shit on a live stream. Damn, now that's a fate worse than death. The disgusting scene is replaced by a seductive one, presenting Jing in all her curvaceous glory. The woman suddenly receives a call from Shuxiang, who quickly informs her about Xiaoyang's visit to the real estate company. And yup, that definitely gets her going because her main question is, how the hell was he able to buy land and with what money? Shuxiang reports the exact deposit details and reports that this man probably spent his bride's money on it. Ping is pissed off after learning that the money she deserved is being used for his personal expenses. Instead of getting her riled up, Big Mac Attack tells her to just ask the guy himself and see what's going on. Her yapping goes on, and I'll gladly skip that part because who wants to hear that? Back to our boy, who is busy reflecting on his next idea. The big problem comes in the form of money, as he'll need a lot of it to cover for resources and work around building his base. His peaceful pondering is annihilated with a loud banging on his door. Bro probably thinks the FBI discovered something in his browser history. But no, it's just Dumb and Dumber, two of the most annoying women on the entire planet, and they're furious with the way Xiaoyang spent Jing's money. Completely confused by the situation, the dude wonders what the hell is going on. Jing does not spare him a chance to say anything and straight up accuses him of using her money to buy land. Not just that, she claims ownership over the land he just bought too. As you can tell, Xiaoyang finds her accusations to be ridiculous. First, he slaps her shoulder with a pile of cash, and then he reminds her that he's never going to allow a woman like her to spend even a single cent. In fact, he even brings up his knowledge of Xiang and Jing dating each other in secret, which ultimately surprises her even more. Worst bestie of the year chimes in to cover for her friend, acting innocent and stating that it's just a misunderstanding between a couple. However, our boy isn't convinced and straight up calls her a cheater for playing him against her sugar daddy. Slamming the door on her face, he tells her to get lost. Instead of feeling guilty over her actions, the one thing that bothers Jing is how our boy was able to discover their secret relationship. That's how you know this woman is very messed up. She doesn't even care about the fact that she made a serious mistake. Her bestie is surprisingly also shocked, not knowing when the secret relationship even began. She's also disgusted that it had to be with the old bastard Xu Xiang. Even she understands that they've got no leverage against Xiaoyang anymore, so they'll have to return with another plan later on. Earlier I called this woman the worst bestie of the year, and you guys are about to know why. You see, she's a snake who has been waiting to shoot her shot. She's glad that the two of them are fighting, because she can sneak in and take Xiaoyang for herself. Anyway, let's not talk about those two horrible people and focus back to Xiaoyang, who came to visit the unfinished factory. The crew leader of the construction company explains that they'll have to renovate a number of things and install proper defense systems, and based on that, it'll take some time. Hilariously, with how many defense systems they're installing in place, even the construction crew member is like, "Are you about to fight God or something?" Our boy refuses to cooperate and simply orders the completion of the project within a month. The captain straight up tells him that it's not possible to end this in a month. Despite the numbers they have at their disposal, it won't be enough. But funnily enough, the same captain then tells him that the kid will have to pay more to finish his demands in a month. The project will be rushed, so they'll need a minimum of 20 million for the job. Without even despairing at the price, our boy simply smiles and asks to confirm it's really all they want. The leader expresses that Xiaoyang will also have to make an upfront payment of 5 million to get things started. Our boy is actually on board with the plan and explains that he'll get the money transferred in 1 week, as long as they don't waste time and begin right away. The captain is at a loss for words. He's probably wondering if Xiaoyang's the son of Chinese Elon Musk or something. Oh, and our boy emphasizes that if he skips out on the payment or crosses them in any way, he'll name the plot under their name in order to prevent the damages. The attractive deal gets sealed. But right then, the conversation is interrupted by Jing's friend, who acts all buddy-buddy with him and grabs his arm, asking what he's up to. Already, our boy is pretty damn pissed off, knowing that in the previous life, this bitch was also involved in a scandal, and she helped Jing to steal his family's property. He eventually plans to deal with her in his own way, but for now, Xiaoyang how she ended up here. The girl refuses to answer and brightly questions if this is the plot he's been working on. She wonders if he's going to use it to build a villa on top of it. Done playing the nice guy, Xiaoyang frees himself and tells her that it's none of her business. This pisses the bitch off even more. She can't believe that he's acting so rude, even though her heart is racing for him out of love. Focusing back to his project, Xiaoyang tells the construction crew to expand some space for the gate. Feeling ignored, she frowns at her inability to capitalize on this golden opportunity. She knows that Jing's relationship is in shambles, but she can still play her cards and steal the land from our boy. I'm starting to feel convinced that our boy is a chick magnet for the worst women ever. Back at his apartment, Xiaoyang manages funds by using his house as a collateral. But even then, that's not enough to cover the initial payment. His biggest concern is getting a boatload of money. He even considers the idea of selling his place a few times to a few different owners, knowing that it won't matter when the apocalypse is going to come anyway. What are they going to do? Sue him in a zombie court? His peace and quiet is shattered when an annoying old man bangs on his door, shouting that Xiaoyang opens it at once. Apparently this dude is supposed to be his neighbor, Grandpa Li, who appears to have some money. The old guy is so rich that he owns the first 2 floors to his name, and now he's looking for Xiaoyang's place too. The only reason our boy didn't sell it in the original timeline is because he thought of this place as his eventual wedding house. But with how that turned out, and how this old fart is constantly shouting at him, he's starting to change his mind. Grandpa Li scolds the kid for going out clubbing, even though Xiaoyang completely denies such false accusations. Instead of continuing the meaningless argument, Our boy simply surrenders the house to the old geezer's name, finally making the leap to have it sold. This brightens the annoying geezer's mood, as he's astonished to hear those words coming out of the kid's mouth. Xiaoyong emphasizes that there's a condition attached to it. Since his new place won't be ready for another 6 months to come, he'll require an upfront payment of 5 million so that he can personally pay off his house loan. It's actually a pretty smart strategy if he repeats this a few more times with different buyers. Xiaoyong intends to shut the door on him if he declines, but at the last moment, the old geezer caves in and accepts the conditions. However, he wants a contract to be set up so neither parties experience any issues. Of course, something as simple as a contract never bothered our boy, especially when he knew this geezer would die after claiming the house. Anyway, things are looking good so far. He'll soon get access to 5 million from Grandpa Lee, and with the 3 million he pledged on his own, he now has 8 million to work with in total. Thanks to completing the first requirement, he can also now claim a reward for the mission. In the next scene, our boy is speedrunning the grocery stores. This man has become the Max Verstappen of a shopping trolley. Even the people around him are starting to question if the kid is mentally ill or some shit. Their reaction is solid, especially when you realize that Xiaoyong has like 7 different carts jam-packed with stuff inside. The people think that someone must have fooled him with the fear of an incoming apocalypse, forcing him to buy all that. Xiaoyong doesn't pay attention to these fools and ends up completing the second task. He assesses where he should be spending his points. Even though he could boost his stats, it would be more efficient to get the toolbox of the protagonist. Without any hesitation, he chooses it and spends all his points. The result is a beaming mystery box, which unveils a powerful space ring to store his items in a static dimension. Overall, our boy is pretty satisfied to get his hands on a legendary item. He also doesn't have to worry about his food going bad inside the static dimension anymore. If you guys think gathering 1 year's supplies was next, well, the system goes even further, and now demands him to gather 10 years of supplies to earn more points. Having caught attention from the store's manager, security arrives to take care of any lunatics causing a scene. Yang Tao is surprised to find Xiaoyong here of all places. To give a bit of a background check, Yang Tao used to be an annoying bully back in their school days. They tormented the weak, including our boy, who refused to accept their orders. Their encounters during school were already rough, and now this guy is out here screaming at Xiaoyong to return all these supplies back to where he found them, instead of causing a scene. Our boy gives him a fearless smile and points out that nothing has changed regarding Yang Tao's personality, as he's still Captain Douchebag like he was before. He promises to follow up with the purchase too, but in the eyes of the security manager, he thinks Xiaoyong is messing around, and he demands him to pay at once or suffer the consequences instead. An entire hour later, 4 receptionists finally end up concluding the checkout for all the items. It results in a total of nearly 57,000 yuan. Right away, Yang Tao forces our boy to insert his card and check out at once. Acting like he just pulled off some kind of god-tier move, Xiaoyong swipes the card with confidence. To the manager's utter shock, the transfer goes through, flooring Yang Tao's expectations. Humiliated, he takes his men and turns to leave, but our boy's not quite done as he calls him for one last thing. Xiaoyong expresses that he received unjust rudeness for his purchase, so he wants an official apology, or else he'll return these items immediately. Hearing this gets Yang Tao's blood boiling, who thinks that the kid is pushing his limits and deliberately looking for trouble. But in today's world, cameras are everywhere and people can be easily documented. That's why the other customers there are holding the rude security manager on the spot, ordering him to give an immediate apology or become famous on TikTok for his stubbornness. Things are working out great in Xiaoyong's favor, who reminds his old classmate that an apology won't hurt him. In fact, it might just give him the push to buy 10 times more. Yang Tao thinks it's an exaggeration, but our boy calmly decides to prove him wrong a second time by showing him his balance. When he swipes the card, the look on Yang Tao's face is priceless, as he's unable to comprehend how this guy has 7 million casually sitting in his account. With no other way to save his face, Xiaoyong pushes the humiliated Yang Tao to offer an apology. The bully caves in and lowers his head, apologizing for his behavior. To embarrass him even more, our boy pats his head and reminds him not to behave rudely for no reason. As he's leaving, Yang Tao curiously asks what he bought all of this stuff for. Using the best answer in the book, Xiaoyong dismisses him by stating that it's none of his damn business and that he's planning on something big. The humbled manager expresses that he'll need to find a wholesaler for even greater purchases like that. This catches our boy's attention, as he turns to ask if Yang Tao has any ties with wholesalers. The guy actually confirms the fact, reminding him of their old leader Zhang Shengjie, who currently works in the wholesale business. In fact, Yang Tao even makes a call to speak to him for a big client. The surprising part for Xiaoyong is realizing that this rude bitch is still serving under the same boss, even out of school. It makes him wonder how much money they've made together in the business. A short while later, Yang Tao takes him to his boss's place. A car quickly arrives and pulls the brakes just inches away from the two of them. Exiting the car is the arrogant bastard who thinks he runs the world, Zhang Shengji. He wants to have a meeting with this supposed big client right away. Yang Tao even helps refresh the man's memory by reminding him that Xiao Yong used to be their classmate. But of course, since much time has passed since then, this roughneck doesn't remember anything. Inspecting our boy's face closely, he suddenly realizes Xiao Yong's identity. It's the kid who always stood his own against their group and rebelled against their orders. He tries to belittle our boy's drip by calling it fake. It doesn't also help when Xiao Yong acts like he doesn't even know the name of the brand. From his reaction, Zhang Shengji thinks that he's only wasted his time by coming here. The kid isn't a big client at all. He kicks Yang Tao's ass, literally, and states that he can tell how rich a person is by just looking at them. To make fun of the boss, Xiao Yong sarcastically talks about his aura being so weak that he can't intimidate a dumb boss. Provoked, Zhang Shengji grabs him by his clothes. But our boy doesn't back down, repeating what he said. Hilariously, Zhang Shengji is only infuriated about the insult illiterate. He doesn't care about the fact that Xiao Yong taunted him for acting superior to others. Anyway, Yang Tao chimes in to break the conflict between the two. But the poor dude ends up getting kicked again for interrupting. The pissed-off boss thinks that Xiao Yong has made a big mistake, thinking he'll go back in one piece if he doesn't buy a ton of goods from him. And again, yes, the one piece is real. Xiao Yong stands his ground and decides to show him his little bank account. The boss can't believe what he's seeing. The kid is ready to make a giant purchase of 1 million at the drop of a needle. To go even further, our boy states that he'll actually be purchasing 5 million worth of goods. The initial 1 million is just a deposit to get things going. Intrigued, Zhang Shengji inquires for the kind of goods he's looking for. The kid tells him that he wants everything that is edible or drinkable to be included as part of the goods. Despite the fact that a giant client is standing before him, this greedy boss thinks that he can easily scam our boy by handing him a batch of food that is almost expired. It's a lottery ticket for him. Inside the warehouse, Zhang Shengji shows him the goods and throws in a 10% discount if he buys everything here. However, our boy is strictly concerned with the quality of the goods first, so he decides to check a bag of peanut sand and quickly points out how most of the stuff here is nearing its expiry date, exposing the boss's greediness. Zhang Shengji genuinely didn't know that Xiao Yong would be so well versed in this line of business. He decides to throw in a 50% discount if he takes everything from the pile. However, our boy quickly turns him down, stating that if he's spending 5 million for goods, they'll have to be of the best quality. However, he does have plans to use these expired goods as well. The boss doesn't get what he's plotting, but now that a discount offer is already on the table, Xiao Yong uses it to leverage his negotiation. He wants all the expired goods, but with the condition that he'll pay in a month's worth of time. Zhang Shengji doesn't mind, but he's afraid what will happen when the goods end up expiring and he backs out of the deal. To that, Xiao Yong even throws in an offer to mortgage his own house for the cost. The boss at this point is quite intrigued about the kind of business Xiao Yong is running. For him to acquire expired stuff without any problems, our boy doesn't dread his choices. In fact, he leaves a little nugget of information for the boss. In just a few days' time, even expired food will be seen as a luxury to have. This sends shivers down Zhang Shengji's spine, but refusing to elaborate in his typical style, Xiao Yong seals the deal and promises to send the delivery address later. Picking up his phone call, our boy realizes that an interested buyer has reached out to him for his house. He wraps things up with the warehouse and lets them take care of everything. As he's leaving, Yang Tao is left wondering if they're the ones who got spammed. Even the boss can't figure out how a normal-looking kid is out here spending millions without any concern. In the next scene, the interested buyer actually makes a deposit of 400,000 for our boy's house. He also accepts the contractual condition that Xiao Yong will leave the house in 3 months. I think you guys can understand what he's doing here, right? He doesn't care about the consequences because the world will be plunged into chaos anyway. Xiao Yong is surprised by the old man's desperation, who didn't even inspect his house and sealed the deal anyway. He decides to ask for the old man's motivation, who explains that he's doing it for his granddaughter's sake, who has to transfer schools and requires a new place for it. They saw a nice-looking home and thought to make an offer. Scaring him, Xiao Yong wonders if he should raise the price now that he's heard of their desperation. This makes the poor guy shrink in fear. Maintaining his original price, Xiao Yong assures him that he won't do anything of the sort. They quickly sign the contract, and the deal is done. The old man is grateful for the boy's kindness, and promises not to disturb him any longer. However, this situation is devastating for our protagonist, who thinks that it's a shame that innocent people like this old man and his granddaughter won't even be able to survive the gruesome apocalypse. Deciding to extend one last piece of kindness, he stops the old man and requests an address of their current location. In the next scene, Xiao Yong's back to the construction side, checking on his plot. Of course, the first batch of funds is clear, but the captain is hoping for the second batch too now. Our boy assures him they'll get the money soon and asks for an update on the construction phase. From the looks of it, 80% of it has already been completed. They've installed reliable doors and structures to ensure proper defense. The warehouse is also looking good. It's already cleaned up too. Having gained assurance from him, Xiaoyang signals Zhang Shengje to deliver all the goods immediately. Shortly after, the stuff arrives and it is carefully stocked in each pile. Just for the labor alone, the generous Xiaoyang is paying them 2,000 each for the task. While these guys are celebrating, our boy helps them categorize each pile efficiently, making sure the perishable items are stored without any inconvenience. By the evening, the sorting process is complete. Xiaoyang stares down at his magnum opus. At long last, he has officially stocked 10 years' worth of supplies, gaining 20 points on top of it. Once again, he inspects the system's store and realizes that another box has arrived in the list of options. The one good thing about the system is that he'll have access to these superpowers before the zombie apocalypse even hits the world. Spending 10 points, he purchases another mystery box, which unveils an ability known as the Mind's Eye. Its simple function is to detect hostility and ill intentions from other people, which is convenient when it comes to trusting people in the apocalypse. Replacing his earlier task is the new task, Armed to the Teeth. It requires him to get a shitload of weapons and stock up John Wick style, which is exactly what Xiaoyang had in mind. That same night, we turn to a darker side of society, the black market. Xiaoyang is navigating his way through the crowd, hearing people rambling about antique items. All of the terrible people are gathered here, including Big Mac Attack Xuqiang, who is currently arguing with a shop owner for a ridiculous price on a bracelet. Seeing him purchase fake bracelets at this market only assures our boy that Fatso is a scammer, and Jing can't even tell she's wearing fake jewelry. While searching around, Xiaoyang finally catches something worth his attention. He comes to a shop owner who is selling melee weapons. Xiaoyang is interested in buying the good stuff. The shop owner recommends a knife sharpener or just a baton if he's looking for something stiff and not sharp. Xiaoyang counters that he requires something even harder than that. The only thing harder than a baton is Dwayne Johnson's bald head. Anyway, the shop owner thinks his customer is messing around without actually being interested in buying. To his utter shock, the same kid transfers 200,000 right in his account, assuring the guy that he's interested in buying. Intrigued, the seller invites Xiaoxiang to keep watching his stall while they go off to speak in private. In the following scene, they're in his storage room. The man shows him a bunch of homemade guns that can go for 2,000 yuan. But they're not powerful enough to kill someone. Of course, Xiaoyang refuses them because he's going to be facing actual zombies, not chickens in the apocalypse. The seller then invites his attention to a replica revolver, which goes for about 5,000 yuan. Once again, the kid is serious and isn't impressed at all, especially when he's paid a staggering 200,000 in advance. The mention of an advance payment makes the shop owner shocked, because Xiaoyang isn't just here for 200 grand. No, that's just 10% of the original amount he's willing to invest on weapons. In fact, he'll be spending 2 whole million on them for the job. His outrageous offer makes the seller question the kind of life this guy's living. I'm telling you all, man's about to become the John Wick of the zombie apocalypse. Without further ado, he tells the seller to get on with it. Deciding to bring out the good stuff, the guy covers his house properly, assuring no one is watching them. He also assures Xiaoyang that he's come to the right place, as he can send him to a supplier who can help complete the transaction with high-quality weapons. The real meeting will happen in a couple of days. As he's walking out of the storage house, Xiaoyang ends up bumping into Fudgy Pudgy again, who finally understands why Xiaoyang is spending a comfortable life lately. He thinks that the kid sold off a good portion of his stuff on the black market to become rich. Little does he know, Xiaoyang is uninterested in his provocations and simply wants to use this idiot to test his newest ability. Activating the Mind's Eye, he first inspects the intentions of the seller, who appear to be in his favor. But for the fatso in front of him, not so much. Xiaoyang bites back by telling Xuxiang that just like those second-hand bracelets, he also took in Jing, who is worth all the fake shit he bought. Someone's gonna need an icing for that burn. One simple remark is enough to get Xuxiang's nerves flared. The seller wonders if they know each other. To that, our boy emphasizes that it's best to consider him an enemy. Since they've become good friends already, the seller offers his support to our boy, promising to beat the crap out of the old fart for messing with them. Xiaoyang leaves satisfied while Xuxiang is at the verge of tears, seeing a bunch of ruthless men approaching him with a baton. They shove him on the ground and literally kick him down until he's full of marks. This incident only boils his hatred for Xiaoyang, and he promises to exact his revenge one day. 2 days finally passed. Our boy receives a truck full of his fancy weapons, completing the mission reward as well as gaining a bonus reward for it. The bonus reward is a physical enhancement potion to help boost his stats. It's even got a multiplier of 2, so it's even more effective than what he can purchase at the store. Wasting any time, he loads the injection and chucks it into his body, Seconds later, he realizes that he's surpassed the average male's strength, which is at 5 points. Right now, he's at 7 points, allowing a 40% increase in physical might. Next up, he checks the store, which only has a survival kit and a physical enhancement potion for him. Deciding to maximize his strength stat, he goes for the physical enhancement potion and injects it again. By the end, our boy is stacked with 8 physical points, significantly boosting his power by 60% compared to the average male. To test his ability, he looks around and grabs a hardened rod. Xiaoyang kicks it so hard that it bends and leaves a crack in the nearest wall. With his current level of strength, zombies are going to be catching these mighty hands. Next up, he decides to store all of his weapons inside the spatial ring, which sucks all the crates inside the static dimension. Assessing his situation, Xiaoyang understands that the apocalypse will break out in 2 days. He has to tie up any loose ends now, which reminds him of the situation with the old man he met. Even though people betrayed his trust in the apocalypse, deep down, Xiaoyang is a good person who wants to help others when he can. That's why he intends to send their family a bunch of supplies to survive, but from then on, it's up to the people to manage their own. In the next scene, Xiaoyang arrives at the old man's place. It was difficult to find the exact location because of how downtrodden this place appears to be. As he's climbing stairs, our boy understands that the old man must be in a really terrible place in life. As he's knocking the door, he realizes that it's best to whip out the supplies he brought first, so that he doesn't have to deal with it. His magic ring materializes the rationing supplies just outside, and finally he knocks the door. The old man worriedly comes up, apologizing for the situation of the rent. But he's shocked to discover Xiaoyang at his doorstep. And not just that, the kid has brought tons of stuff alongside him. Our boy tells him that he doesn't have time to explain, so it's best if they transfer the stuff inside quickly. In the next scene, the crates are all placed inside, and the old man is pretty impressed by Xiaoyang's stamina. Our boy inspects his surroundings and thinks that the old man's apartment is well secured. He warns the old man not to spill a word of what he's about to tell him. Xiaoyang advises them to use the supplies smartly, because the world is about to experience a change. Suddenly, he glances at a photograph of the old geezer's beautiful granddaughter. To his utter shock, it's actually Shanshan, one of his friends that he made when the apocalypse broke out. To confirm her identity, he checks with her grandfather, who is surprised that Xiaoyang knows her name, even though they never brought it up in their conversation. Concerned, Xiaoyang immediately asks for her location. Turns out that she's in her hometown studying and in the process of transferring. In the original timeline, he found her with lingering regrets about her grandfather's demise, who risked his life to save her and died in the process. As his friend, Xiaoyang refuses to let the same outcome happen again. First off, he tells her grandfather that he's not going to be able to move into his house. This causes the poor guy to panic out of fear, but Xiaoyang helps calm him down by explaining the end of the world. A zombie apocalypse will break out tomorrow and no place will be safe from now on. That's why he wants the old geezer to pick up his daughter from school, and then they'll decide where they should stay. This is too much for the old man to understand all at once. Unfortunately, Xiaoyang doesn't have a choice but to help his understanding. He describes the situation to be similar to a famine. Starvation will be the norm for their once peaceful world. Xiaoyang practically demonstrates his point by sucking in all their furniture as well as the crates back to his ring. Shanshan's grandfather is at a loss for words, until our boy explains that he has special powers and the ability to see the future. That's why he wants them to be safe, and they must head to Shanshan's school right away. In the next scene, they're inside the car rushing to the school. Arriving here, Xiaoyang quickly asks for her dormitory as the two of them quickly look around for her. Well, apparently Shanshan is out here getting bitch-slapped by a jealous woman because some random dude has a crush on her. Even though Shanshan has tried clarifying that she shares no involvement with the guy, she still gets struck for making excuses. These evil bitches torture Shanshan for acting nonchalant in front of their crush. Lucky for her, Shanshan's grandpa comes rushing to find her. The helpless old man demands the woman to let her go. But to deal with them, a bunch of high school lunatics arrive, threatening the old man for getting involved. For his granddaughter's sake, the old man rushes in blindly and faces off against the three men. One ruthless bastard is about to clock his head with a baseball bat. Before the attack even connects, Xiaoyang grabs his arm and stops it. He taunts the guy for pretending to be a gangster, when really they're just a bunch of high schoolers. The idiots try to clown on him, but Xiaoyang beautifully answers by kicking the first guy so hard that his hair turns blonde. Just one kick dropped him to the ground, making the other two idiots question if they're dealing with a trained professional. They stupidly try to surround him, thinking that's going to make a difference. Our boy gladly welcomes the attempt. The dude with the club attempts to strike him from his blind spot, but completely misses his mark as Xiaoyang ducks with ease. Now that he's amplified his strength stat, his reflexes are on a whole different level, causing him to react faster. To return the blow with love, he grabs the guy's collar and smashes him into the ground, knocking him out immediately. As for the leader of the group, He tries sneaking up with a knife stab. Unfortunately for him, Xiaoyang maneuvers his fist to his advantage and brutally delivers a kick just below his thigh. Just so you know, getting kicked here by a real-life professional is bound to put you down with the worst kind of pain imaginable. Well, in these idiots' case, Xiaoyang has been successful in helping them take a nap. Next, he walks up to the girl who toyed with Shanshan. A bitch slap to the face reminds her that he's showing his support for feminism and exercising equal rights. Girl is literally seeing stars for a minute. Bro then grabs the other bitch and shows her how it feels when someone pulls your hair. He then puts a blade right up to her neck, drawing tears out of the fear in her eyes. And then boom, a sharp swing cuts through as the woman screams in pain. At first glance, it looks like bro just got his first body count kill. Even the reaction of Shanshan makes it seem like he really unalived someone. But no, he just gave her a little haircut. You know? How the barbers treat you when you say, just cut a little off the top. And then they end up running a fade check on you? Yeah, it's happening to her. She screams at him, promising never to forgive him for what he did. But let's be real, our boy doesn't give a damn and even acts like he did her a favor by taking off the extra weight. Hilariously, he tells her that she'll get what he's talking about in a few days' time. For now, he tells Shanshan that they're heading off. She doesn't know where, but she follows him anyway. As in the next scene, they're driving to their new location. Grandpa over here explains the situation to her, talking about how there's going to be a famine apocalypse. Shanshan is conflicted and thinks that her grandpa fooled himself by attending one of the scam calls again. He assures her that it wasn't a scam call. Seeing the two of them interact in such a way amuses our boy, who is glad that she's happy in this life. Xiaoyang signals her that he's the one who told her grandpa about everything. The Shanshan of this world has no idea who he even is. So he introduces himself properly again. She thanks her new brother for helping out with the bullies. But Xiaoyang isn't too worried about them anyway, since they won't be surviving in a few days. Still, the girl is lost and doesn't get what's about to happen to the world. Xiaoyang clarifies that he only describes the situation as a famine because it's the easiest way for her grandpa to understand. This gives the poor girl some hope, making her believe that everything's gonna be fine. Bro quickly reaps her soul by replacing the word famine with an apocalypse, utterly shattering her expectations. Xiaoyang states that things should already be going south according to the news. Shanshan quickly checks her phone and sees a bunch of videos about some kind of rabies infection causing people to go mad and attack people. Her fear grows and grows when she watches even more videos, horrified to see the condition of infected people. Xiaoyang stands corrected once again. The apocalypse is about to begin. Shanshan learns that tomorrow will be the official breakout of the toxic smog, which will encompass several provinces. This dangerous smog will permanently alter the state of living beings. A good portion of the population will immediately turn into zombies, and from then on, they'll feast on those that are unaffected by the smog. Once killed, the uninfected become the undead, increasing their numbers. He's happy to know that Shanshan at least has knowledge of what zombies are supposed to be like. It's just that the situation is far too ridiculous for her to understand. But our boy thinks she'll come to find it reasonable soon, especially when the entire world will be plunged into chaos after 1 week. But right now, they're stuck with another problem: traffic. Xiaoyang is surprised to find the emergency lane also blocked. The roads are packed. Shanshan is afraid for her life, fearing that the zombies will find them while they're stuck here. Xiaoyang assures her that it's not that bad right now as the apocalypse hasn't fully broken out. Still, even though the main apocalypse is supposed to happen later, the chances of a small outbreak happening here are also pretty high. Speaking of dangerous, a driver decides to ram into the lanes by forcing his way through. He ends up slamming right into our boy's car, who is pissed off and retaliates on his own. He tries to stop the invader from entering the emergency lane. The guy stops just next to his car and starts shouting curses at Xiaoyang. Realizing that they're dealing with a snobbish rich guy driving a Mercedes, Shanshan's grandpa recommends they let it go. But our boy doesn't play around. He doesn't mind giving this guy an early death if he bothers them out of the car. In the next scene, the traffic is finally unclogged, and the situation is resolved after an hour. Shanshan warns our boy to watch out for the same driver from last time, who is quickly speeding up to cut through. Even Xiaoyang is shocked by this guy's stubbornness. The dude quickly cuts ahead in order to mock them. Even Shanshan's grandpa thinks that this is unsafe and that they shouldn't stoop to his level. However, Xiaoyang has stopped giving a flying fuck to these kinds of people, knowing that the apocalypse is going to save him from any crimes anyway. What he ends up doing is ramming against the guy's car, causing it to spin over and crash on the side. The trust fund baby gets out of the car and immediately calls the traffic police to get Xiaoyang arrested. He's not the type of person to let someone go after they've wronged him. In the next scene, our heroes are back to the facility that Xiaoyang has been spending so much time on. Even Shanshan's grandpa is shocked that they'll be living here from now on. He assures them that starting tomorrow, their life will change permanently, so they better get some rest now. The following day, our boy is sunbathing and sees Shanshan also coming along. She's finally had a good night's sleep after a long time because of her classes. Xiaoyang is excited to show her around the fortress that he built. Walking her around, he explains how the walls are made of concrete. There's a remote-controlled gate, so durable that no one will be able to cut through. He installs one proper rule. Without his permission, they can't allow anyone to enter inside the fortress. This makes Shanshan worried about the survivors who eventually find their way all the way here, thinking that Xiaoyang's just going to let them die. To answer her concerns, he takes them to another location, pointing out how people's nature truly takes a shift when it comes to any apocalypse. It's because of the dark side of humanity that they'll have to treat other people with caution. Being kind can result in their own deaths if they're not careful. To take care of any survivors, he's actually installed a buffer zone, a place of temporary shelter that can be used to help them while he's away. Once again, Xiaoyang strictly reminds them not to let anyone enter the main fortress. With that established, he takes them to the food storage facility, explaining how they're going to be handling food from now on. Navigating inside the warehouse, he turns to them for one final inspection. Activating his Eye of Insight, he's able to inspect their intentions. With both of them showing a sign of clear trust, he's happy to have found well-intentioned people. Up next, Xiaoyang materializes some of his weapons, pointing out that they'll be the key to their survival. Grandpa gets a shotgun, while Shanshan's acquired herself a powerful crossbow. Their only instruction is to make sure these weapons don't fall into the hands of other people. Okay, it's been a while since we reviewed the system's task. Xiaoyang's next task is to find his former partner Jiang Qi, who is also one of his friends from the original timeline. The worrying thing is figuring out Jiang Qi's location. But not to worry, because the system points to the exact city his friend is living in. He leaves both Shanshan and her grandpa in charge, reminding them not to violate the rules he has set. Then he heads off to recruit another member into their main fortress team to strengthen and reform it before the apocalypse begins. The scene cuts to a studio called the KTV. A bunch of homies are hanging out here and enjoying some karaoke. They decide to take a bathroom break to relieve some tension. Here, Zhangshai ends up bumping into a pretty girl and apologizes for having caused unnecessary trouble. Of course, her boyfriend doesn't give a crap about their excuses and kicks him away. Jiang Qi's sent flying back. Knocked to the ground, his friend comes up to check on his condition. Nerd Eyes over here puts up a bold stance and stands up to the meathead who punched his friend, causing the guy to get even more pissed. He quickly grabs Jiang Qi's friend, toying with him. Jiang Qi begs for mercy, hoping for the man to spare his pal without causing any harm. While this is happening, a waiter watches the whole scene go down. He's already suffering from a cold and now there's a fight breaking out. Quickly, he tries to stop the fight by intervening. The annoyed wannabe rich guy acts like he's a big deal and grabs the waiter too, who gestures to the two kids to scatter away quickly. Jiang Qi and his friend make a run for it while they still can. They go back to their karaoke room, having escaped the troublesome situation. Even the other guys are shocked why they came running like that. Captain Glasses tells them about the situation, how they bumped into a thug's bitch and ended up getting their ass beat for it. It's only thanks to the waiter that they were saved. Hearing this, the other two guys are riled up. They want to go back and beat up the dude for daring to mess with their group. Jiang Qi helps him calm down, stating that there's point looking for trouble anymore. Well, things only get worse from here on out. Remember the waiter? Poor guy has been beaten to a bloody pulp. The rich thug has brought 3 more of his friends, and they're all here to beat up Jiang Qi's group. The thug orders his men to seize them right away. Unable to put up a fight or cause trouble, Jiang Qi and Nerd Eyes quickly drop low. There's only one guy confident enough to put up a fight from their group, and when he tries to break his silence, the thug leader smashes a bottle on his head. Chen Chong, and I'm not even being racist, that's actually his name, is left with a bloody head. The scene transitions to our boy, who stops his car just outside the bar, knowing that Jiang Qi being here makes total sense. Chen Chong's down for the count, and if that's his blood on the floor, then someone needs to get this guy to the ER fast. The asshole thug leader seeks the validation of his girl, who thinks that they should punish the one who bumped into her. And that turns their attention to Jiang Qi, who is about to get his ass kicked. Shockingly, Chen Chong dashes up from the ground and attempts to strike down the thug leader. If not for the other guys stopping him, he really would have smashed his face in. The thug leader is surprised to see such bravado coming from a college kid and smashes yet another bottle on top of his head. I'm starting to feel sorry for him. Chen Chong kisses the ground a second time and his friends cry out in worry. Watching him go down like that infuriates Jiang Qi to jump into action. Unfortunately, they're quickly detained. The final member of their group is quivering like a puppy on the side. The waiter is struggling to maintain his senses, while the rest of the thugs are busy beating down Jiang Qi's group. Unfortunately, his punch is dodged, so he doesn't even take one of them down. Something happens to the waiter. This guy goes crazy with his bloodshot eyes and flings into the battle like a damn animal. He chomps down on one of the men, chewing on his shoulder and horrifying everyone else. The thugs have no idea what's going on or why this waiter has gone insane all of a sudden. They quickly try to restrain him, but his monstrous strength gets the better of them. In fact, the zombified waiter turns back to chomp down on the other guy's arm. He's become a full-fledged animal as he overpowers the thug and knocks him to the ground. To everyone's shock, the same overpowered animalistic beast of nature is easily manhandled by a random guy. This random guy is none other than our boy, of course, who shoves his face into the screen and tells everyone else to stop fucking around. The thugs are astonished. Just now they were getting destroyed by the waiter, and yet one kid has him pinned against the wall without any trouble. The thug leader questions Xiaoyang's identity, who doesn't explain a word and addresses Zhang Qi's condition, asking if he's clear of any bite marks. Luckily he is, but Zhang Qi doesn't know why he's being asked such a weird question. Our boy tells him to quickly follow him as they've got somewhere to be, but the thug leader isn't quite done messing around with them and stops them. However, one of his own henchmen starts experiencing a strange headache after receiving a bite. Immediately, our boy comes to terms with what's about to happen. The infection is getting worse, and his guy is about to turn. Xiaoyang asks if his shoulder was bitten off by the same rabid waiter. The lackey confirms this as a fact but doesn't understand the connection. Our boy internalizes that this guy was actually already infected. And now that he's received a bite close to his head, it's game over for him. Xiaoyang drags the zombified waiter, tosses him into the restroom, and slams the door shut. The wild beast keeps on ramming the door, but luckily, zombies at this stage don't have the intelligence to open doors. Turning his attention back to the thugs, our boy prepares himself for a serious ass-kicking, questioning Zhang Qi which one he should take out first. The funniest thing is that Zhang Qi doesn't even know him and fails to comprehend what's going on. Pissed off by the kid's audacity, the thug leader rushes to punch his arrogance down. Humiliating him with a simple motion, Xiaoyang grabs his damn face and smashes his head into the ground. The infected lackey from before rushes to attack him as well, but he's also destroyed with a single smack to the face, knocking him down. With the dude completely knocked down, his friend comes to ask what's going on, as a simple punch shouldn't have been so effective. His body twists and turns in pain as Xiaoyang invites them for the smoke, believing that only after catching these hands will they understand not to fuck with him. Turning to Zhang Qi, he's given strict orders to head to the private room with his friends and wait outside. The guy doesn't put up a fight and just helps his friend exit the room. As for the thug leader and his fellows, they're done fighting around too, knowing they don't stand a chance. However, Xiaoyang isn't the type to just let anyone leave after they messed with him like that. He accuses the thug of being a drunk bitch who nearly killed his brother because of his carelessness. To give this guy a taste of his own medicine, he shoves the thug down and slams the door shut on him, sealing them inside. The thug leader slams the door, but he can't do shit since it's locked from the outside. The outcome is gruesome for this guy's fate. His own lackey has fully become a zombie and lunges forth to find its nearest victim. In the end, Xiaoyang gets to hear their screams as they're getting devoured alive. A staff member comes around to check what's going on. Xiaoyang instructs him to lock the door properly and to call the police, informing them of a dangerous patient with a rabid infection. The staff member is startled at first, until our boy shouts at him to just get the job done. Quickly, he locks it shut with a key. Next up, our boy helps Zhang Qi's friends navigate their way outside. The staff members are concerned about the noise coming from inside the room, wondering what the hell is going on. They received word that a rabid flu patient is inside, but no one really knows for sure. Hearing about the flu, they quickly rush to check the live cameras. But when they arrive at the surveillance room, their expression drops to disgust and horror. Every single one of them has become a man-eating monster, ripping apart each other's limbs, causing the staff members to call the police immediately. Luckily for our boy and his friends, they've escaped the dangerous karaoke bar. He helps them get inside the car, and they quickly head off. Even though Zhang Qi is grateful for the stranger's help, he still doesn't get who this guy is. Xiaoyang calmly introduces himself, explaining that he was hired to protect them by a client whose identity is confidential. One of them asks about the rabid flu patient, stating that it doesn't exist according to the internet. Xiaoyang reminds them of the situation inside the room and wonders if that was also a conspiracy theory. Nerd Eyes worriedly asks about the cure for the flu. Unfortunately, from what our boy knows, there isn't a medicine for it. In fact, the situation will only get worse from here on out and the world will be plunged in chaos. Speaking of which, zombies have already begun attacking the citizens. The infection is spreading like wildfire, but even as it is right now, it's just a local outbreak. Most of the infected are in an incubation period, soon to be awakened. Eventually, things will become even more chaotic, which is why Zhang Qi and his friends must strictly follow his instructions. They all agree in unison to follow him, when suddenly he receives a mission completion message. With this, he gains access to new items at the store. Some of them are supplies that he could really use down the road. However, the most interesting one is the post-apocalyptic cultivator box that doesn't seem to go away. Realizing that all three of these boxes seem promising, he plans to redeem them all back at the fortress. Aside from that, he still has to figure out a way to gain some trust. You see, in the original timeline, Zhang-Chi's friends were slaughtered by zombies because one of the group members betrayed them. Among them, the man who ended up betraying them is hidden among the three friends. It's about to become a game of Among Us to find out who it is. It's been a while, so let's check out how Qijing is doing. She appears to be deathly afraid of going to the supermarket because of the news, and wants the supplies to be delivered to her doorstep immediately. To her absolute horror, she hears someone violently knocking at her door. Qijing doesn't know how to handle the situation and quickly hangs up the phone call with Xuxiang. She takes a peek and finds herself relieved. It's only her best friend, who scared her to death with her surprise entrance. The bestie informs her about their neighbor on the first floor, who was taken away by the police by force in an ambulance. It appears that he was also infected, and it's starting to make sense why things are chaotic in their building. She asks Qijing about the supplies that Big Mac Attack promised her. Unfortunately, they've yet to be delivered. Adopting a different approach, she decides to take advantage of Xuxiang's ego by injecting him with lies. They plan to tell the Fatas that Xiaoyang has a stockpile of supplies on him. Qijing doesn't understand how her best friend knows this information. Turns out that she's been spying on him using one of her men, and has since learned that he orders a ton of supplies every now and then. Qijing can't believe that her ex knew about the apocalypse in advance. Her beastie convinces her to tell Xuxiang about everything, so they can loot Xiaoyang's supplies and make a fortune for themselves. Yup, these fake hoes know no morals. Arriving back to his glorious fortress, Zhang-Chi is stunned by what he sees. He can't imagine someone building an actual fortress for themselves. Taking great joy, Xiaoyang explains that it's everyone's natural reaction. Shanshan and her grandpa are glad to see him return home. He tells them not to worry as things are under control. In fact, he shares the spotlight on his new friends, Zhang-Chi and his group. These guys will be joining them from now on. Of course, he also introduces Shanshan and her grandpa to them. They're happy to accept them all as long as they're chosen by Xiaoyang, who also goes on to instruct her grandpa to show these guys around and to help explain every rule. One of the group members raises a request, asking to be issued weapons for their own protection. Now this guy is already on the suspect list for Xiaoyang, who understands that Zhang-Chi's group has a secret mole inside. Nerd Eyes tells Yiming to calm the heck down, as it's risky to ask for weapons when they haven't even earned trust. Xiaoyang promises to hand them weapons in a few days' time. But for now, they need to tend to the injured Chen Chong and nourish him back to health. Inside the fortress, each of them freshen up and change into new clothes. Yiming is actually annoyed by his friend's interference, believing that they would have acquired weapons by now if he hadn't intervened. The thing is, this guy thinks that they're being held as captives inside the facility, instead of being protected. However, Nerd Eyes reasons with him, explaining that Xiaoyang ended up saving their asses, so they can't really say that. They're curious about his background, as so far, they only know about a secret client hiring him to protect them. Yiming is a hard ass for absolutely no reason, and feels pissed off that they're not even treating Chen Chong because of the fear of a potential infection. Hilariously, the kid thinks that Xiaoyang's group is secretly trying to harvest their organs for personal benefit, and to prevent such a situation from happening, they need to make the first move. Nerd Eyes reminds him that if they end up being wrong, they'll be betraying him in the back for it. Yiming is obsessed with his approach and doesn't give a damn. In fact, he's drunk on power and wants to seize control of the fortress. He thinks it's a good idea to dismantle the young girl as well as the old geezer while Xiaoyang's away. With the way he's acting, Zhang-Chi and his other friend are literally staring at him in disbelief. This guy's a freak show and they're only just realizing it. Yiming quickly acts like he's joking around and that he didn't mean a thing, relieving his friends of some tension. Four Eyes once again reminds him that if Xiaoyang really wanted their organs, he wouldn't be letting them roam so freely. Little do they know, Yiming is a slimy bitch and intends to act on his own anyway. He wants to take over the fortress, believing that ruthlessness is going to serve him well. In the next scene, Xiaoyang shares a meeting with Shanshan and her grandpa, who inform him that Chen Chong is resting in the infirmary for his condition. As per his instructions, they've made sure to lock everything for safety. Glad, our boy thanks them and suggests they get some rest as they'll have plenty of problems coming their way from tomorrow. One more thing, he advises them to be wary of Zhang-Chi's other two friends, because he suspects that one of them might betray them. That night, our boy heads to the rationing warehouse. Here he checks out his system store again. First up, he taps open the cultivator box. Then he spends money on the sugar, oil, and protein supply box. Finally, he takes control of the armed deterrence box. With all three purchased at once, he gains rewards in the form of 50 corn seeds and tons of other valuable food items. He even gets 1,500 rounds of ammunition so he doesn't run into problems later. The rewards are pretty damn impressive for what they're worth. With this huge pile, they'll give him a supreme advantage in the apocalypse to come. The following day, trouble finds our boy again. Remember the rich asshole who swore revenge against our boy? Well, he's shown up with his friends to break the place down. He orders all of his lackeys to smash the gate open. But it's honestly pathetic when you realize that despite their best efforts, they can't even dent the thick gate. The boss is infuriated, unable to believe the integrity of the door. Whipping out their best gear, they decide to use Molotovs, sending them flying inside. It doesn't take long for the flames to erupt chaos. With the Molotovs dropping inside, Shanshan and the rest of the group quickly attempt to put out the fire. With this situation, she gains even more conviction in Xiaoyang's words, who predicted that things will get more chaotic from here on out. But you know our boy, he doesn't like backing down at all. This man brought a rifle to deal with anyone who stood in his way. He goes up to the watchtower and checks out the identity of their assailants. Shanshan's grandpa is the first one to realize that it's the same rich bastard from the highway. His men also spot them from the watchtower. The snob roars at them, demanding that Xiaoyong come outside or else he'll burn the place down. Responding with a cool head, Xiaoyong warns them that they have about 5 minutes to fuck off. His repulsive response ignites even more anger from the men, who threaten to use 2 crates full of Molotovs to burn the fortress. Suddenly, the system tasks our boy with another mission. Grandpa doesn't know what to do and recommends a warning shot. By the way, the mission objective is to eliminate the threat that is attacking the fortress. Our boy thinks that a warning shot isn't gonna cut it, especially when they're dealing with scumbags who are directly committing a crime. Knowing that these guys have no morals or consideration for people like them, our boy takes aim and believes that he can't allow them to continue to threaten the lives of others. Saying so, Xiaoyong fires off a shot, eviscerating a guy's arm, causing him to cripple down and shout in pain. Xiaoyong actually wanted to aim for the guy's head, but because he hasn't used a gun in a while, it'll take some time to adjust his aim. Anyway, the fact that he took off the guy's arm is enough to eliminate the threat. They run off like scared little bitches even though they're the ones who came for a fight. Xiaoyong doesn't want to prolong the situation, and knows that these guys will just show up at his door tomorrow, so he shoots every last one of them mercilessly. The few who escape to the vehicle quickly assist their boss to get inside, who screams at his driver to step on the pedal. I'm telling you guys, this man is actually John Wick, and it's refreshing to see a main character that isn't stupid. Despite their best effort to escape using the car, Xiaoyong shoots them down using his automatic rifle. With the way he's handling the gun with extreme proficiency, it makes the old geezer question about the kid's background. Well, it's a miserable ending for these bad guys. Their car is wrecked, and they're all dead. They brought themselves to the Grim Reaper, and the Grim Reaper delivered. Next up, Xiaoyong tells Shanshan's grandpa to use the rest of their group to clean up the mess. But then, a sudden thought takes over his mind. Since they're already in the early stages of the apocalypse, now would be a good time to let these guys rot out here and become training dummies when they eventually become zombies. So he stops the cleaning operation and prefers the dead men to be right where they are. What our boy doesn't know is that Shusheng is actually on his way too, along with Kuijing and her bestie. Kuijing is actually pretty annoyed by her friend's flirtatious behavior in front of the fat ass. At last, they finally arrived in front of the site. Kuijing intends to bring her bestie along, but suddenly she gets cold feet and doesn't want to come. She has to come along to act as a guide, or else they'll never know which factory is Xiaoyong's place. Refusing to come, Kuijing drags her outside by force, ignoring her whining. The 2 girls walk up to the place, while Shuxiang signals his team to get ready for the main event. When he gets the signal, he'll start the car, and then his team will join in on the operation. Back to the girls. The evil bestie over here wants to know why she was dragged along. Kuei Jing reminds her that both of them share the same nature, so she is wary of her intentions. The evil bestie gives a sloppy excuse, stating that she intentionally behaves this way so they can manipulate Xiaoyong easily. To their shock, they see a bunch of dead bodies on the ground. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that there's been a shootout. Both of them stand terrified. They think it's a good idea to go back, but then quickly realize that this party must have also been trying to steal Xiaoyong's supplies. This makes them wonder if Xiaoyong also died in the resulting shootout. They care little about what happened to him as long as his supplies are still around. At first, they ponder going back and using Shuxiang to move forward. However, Kuijing recommends they move forward and sneak their way inside. The girls walk up to the main gate, but it's so thick and tightly shut that there's no chance they'll get inside. This makes them wonder if Xiaoyong ended up surviving after all. From up the tower, Shanshan addresses them and questions their intentions. They both pretend to be associated with our boy, acting like they're his friends. Shanshan quickly informs Xiaoyong about the situation, causing Kuijing to get even more frustrated, because she thinks he's found himself a new chick. Her friend reminds her that they're not supposed to show delicate feelings here, especially when they're dealing with armed individuals. Kuijing is actually fully confident in Shuxiang's ability to handle them, because he's brought guns of his own. The only problem is getting past the door, because everything else will be a piece of cake after that. Xiaoyong comes along to take a look for himself and wonders what Kuijing and Wen Shuya are doing here. Right away, he uses his eye of insight to inspect their intentions. On the outside, these bitches are acting all cute, but he senses distrust and malevolent intentions from them. They act like they're worried about him, but our boy laughs at their sorry attempt for a joke. Not just that, he blatantly shares his knowledge of the Fatas Shuqiang also hiding nearby along with his lackeys. Both of these hoes have a surprised Pikachu expression, not knowing how the hell he was able to know. He doesn't even show them mercy and starts firing off a warning shot. Kuijing and Wen Shuya can't believe that he's actually going to such lengths. The evil bestie maintains a cool head and reminds Kuijing to stay calm, because they're dealing with someone with a gun. But of course, our boy doesn't want to kill the two of them right away. That would be too easy for the likes of them. Suddenly, one of the bodies of the dead men turns into a full-fledged zombie. But not just that, the rest of them are turning too. The same rabid flu they saw on the news is miraculously bringing the dead back to life. This is the moment of ultimate satisfaction for our boy, who wants these two bitches to suffer the ultimate demise at the hands of bloodthirsty zombies. Kuijing and Wen Shuya make a run for it, trying their best to escape the prowling murder machines. They pace their way back to Shuxiang, who has no idea what's going on. That's until he sees a zombie horde rushing after them. Both of these women are reduced to the brink of tears, begging the fatso to become their savior. Shuxiang didn't expect to run into the infected patients in the middle of nowhere. It causes a change of plans as he alerts his men to pull back. He doesn't even save the two women and completely disregards them. Kuijing is literally too angry to die. The scheming bitch throws her purse at her own best friend, causing Wen Shuya to trip on her feet and fall to the ground. Defenseless with nowhere to go, the zombies make quick work of her, tearing apart her flesh and enjoying their meal. While she's being torn apart, Wen Shuya curses Kuijing, swearing that she'll face an ugly death when her time comes. Making her own escape, the crazy bitch runs away, thinking she did the right thing. Witnessing such a horrific scene, Xiaoyong achieves system points for eliminating another threat, while Shanshan watches in horror. He also gains access to another mission to kill the lingering zombies around the base. Shanshan can't believe that the infection is so potent that it causes the dead to return back to life. With this, the apocalypse has officially begun. Xiaoyong tells her that mutations will run rampant, and the people who are infected will turn into zombies even after death. Sensing that he needs to update his team, he calls for an immediate meeting. In the next scene, they're all sat, discussing what to do next. Xiaoyong instructs everyone to stay vigilant and lock everything down completely, making sure that their bodies adapt to the source of the infection. If their bodies can healthily adapt, they'll be at less risk of a sudden mutation. Even then, Zhang Qi is worried sick for his injured friend. Chen Chong is still resting in the infirmary, and unfortunately for him, his infection is slowly taking over him. The city's up in flames, chaos is ensuing outside and ravaging the world. We turn to Zhang Xingzhe, who orders his family to stay home while he's going to go to the warehouse and collect all the supplies he has. He also strictly tells them not to open the door for anyone, but things aren't looking so great for them as someone's already banging on the door. Gesturing his family to stay quiet, he approaches the door with a golf club in his hand, ready to knock the shit out of any infected person. He realizes it's just Yang Tao outside and lets his guard down. That ends up being his ultimate mistake, because Yang Tao has brought his friends to beat the shit out of his boss. They kick him down as he demands to be let go of. Even though the boss showed consideration to Yang Tao all these years, his own lackey ended up betraying him in the end. Of course, Yang Tao reminds his former boss that he was disgraced and tossed around like a lapdog. It's the opposite of being treated nicely. Zhang Shengji reminds him of the down payment he paid for Yang Tao's sake so he can get a house. Instead of being grateful for that helpful gesture, Yang Tao acts like it shouldn't be a big deal since his boss has enough money to buy several houses all at once. He's here for the warehouse keys to rob the supplies. The boss doesn't comply, causing this bastard to attack his family. Yang Tao drags his wife by her hair, causing the little boy to roar at him for hurting his mother. The poor kid can only do so much. Yang Tao doesn't even spare him and smacks the kid with a heavy slap. Zhang Shengji roars at him for hurting his defenseless wife and child. Being the evil son of a bitch he is, Yang Tao promises not to hurt them as long he cooperates along with them. In the next scene, they bring him all the way back to the warehouse. Unlocking it, they get inside, but Yang Tao is severely disappointed that there's barely anything that's left. The boss reminds him of their recent best client, Xiaoyong, who bought everything including even the expired food. There's practically nothing left in their stock. The mention of Xiaoyong makes Yang Tao realize something all of a sudden. If they can just steal those supplies from our boy, things will be easy for them as they'll have a decade's worth of ration on them. Of course, even the boss thinks that's a bad idea, because he knows from his previous encounter with Xiaoyong that he isn't a pushover. He even suspects that Xiaoyong must have learned about the apocalypse long before it happened, and prepared accordingly. Yang Tao doesn't even take it up as part of his mission, and instead forces his former boss to do the dirty work. Zhang Shengji has no idea what he's talking about until the bastard puts his family at risk. This means that if he doesn't secure Xiaoyang's supplies, they'll just take out their frustrations on his wife and child. It's a depressing situation for this guy. Back at the fortress, things aren't looking good for Zhang Qi's friend. He's turned into an animal without any regard for reason. The group despairs at the sight of watching their friend get reduced to such a pitiful state. Finally, Yiming suggests that they dispose of him. Once again, Xiaoyang is made suspicious by his words. Zhang Qi can't believe the words coming out of Yiming's mouth. However, this guy is actually serious, believing that there's no reason to keep an infected person alive, especially when they're already dead. He understands that if he were ever to break out of containment, he will endanger the rest of them. His words are painful but true. Xiaoyang agrees that there's no cure, so there's no way to bring their friend back to life. To test Yiming's resolve, our boy offers him a blade, just to see what he'll do with it. The guy is startled at first, but eventually realizes what's going on. Xiaoyang wants him to kill his infected friend. Yiming's body shivers at the sight of the blade, while our boy eggs him on, reminding him that he's the one who wanted a weapon from the beginning. It's finally time for him to pick it up and peacefully send off his friend. Interrupting their conversation, Zhang Qi forces the blade out of their hands. He understands the weight of the responsibility involved, and volunteers for the task instead. Our boy quickly reminds him that if he follows through with this job, he'll become a murderer. It's not something to brush off easily, but Zhang Qi is prepared to trust in Xiaoyang's words, and that's why he's ready to do the job. Seeing his confidence, he allows Zhang Qi to make his move. In the very next scene, he loads the blade and is seconds away from slashing his face. But shockingly, Xiaoyang stops him at the last second. Even though they agreed on everything, suddenly he changed his mind. Turns out that Chen Chong's condition is special, which is why Xiaoyang doesn't want to end his life as he's still got some use for him. It's actually because the system alerted him about a rare mutation in his case. Now alone in the room, our boy checks his state. Chen Chong is a savage beast as he is right now. But Xiaoyang is fearless. This man goes up to his face and reminds him that he's still got one last job to do. The following day, a car crashes straight into a pole. It's actually the boss, who appears to have such shitty luck today that he can't even drive properly. Thankfully, he's pretty close to the fortress, so the distance can be traversed by foot. However, things get a lot more complicated when an ugly zombie attacks him. Unfortunately, the boss ends up getting bitten on his arm. He shoves the mad beast back down and runs back to his car. Grabbing a metal pipe, this man literally knocks the sonic rings out of the zombie's head. He doesn't even stop there, continuing to smash the creature's head until it is reduced to a pile of blood. Well, he wasted far too much time on one zombie as others are also gaining up on him. With his compromised condition, he keeps walking in the direction of the fortress. Speaking of which, our boy's got his crew locked and loaded. Each of them are armed with weapons to kill the zombies lingering around the base. Shanshan is struggling with the protective gear covering important parts of her body. Even though it's uncomfortable, it's necessary to wear. Xiaoyang points out that zombies are known for their explosive power, and it can get overwhelming for them when they lack combat experience. He's fine with them taking it off later on. Outside the base, they're locking down on one zombie as their main target. Xiaoyang instructs his team to get ready as they're within range to strike. Suddenly, the zombie catches sight of them and initiates its attack. As it bursts towards our boy, Xiaoyang reminds his team of the instructions he fed them earlier. Everyone is tasked to cover for each other and maintain good distance. He quickly dodges the zombie's lunge and shows them a visual demonstration of how to create an opening after avoiding an attack. The best areas to strike are the creature's temples and nape. Think of it like Attack on Titan, the neck is their weakness. Surprisingly, Four Eyes is brave enough to smash his weapon into the zombie's face. But instead of cutting through with his blade, he only ends up hurting himself. I was glazing him and he ended up losing all of his aura in the same scene. Xiaoyang emphasizes that attacking the skull is useless. It's the least effective move they could pull off in a battle. It also gives the zombie a window to attack the dude, forcing Four Eyes to block with his blade. The creature really wants a piece of him while he's quivering in fear for backup. Xiaoyang is at least impressed with the way he handled his defense. Next up is Zhang Qi, who goes right in to target the monster's neck. The zombie is struck precisely at its weak spot, creating an opening for the rest of the team to keep on bashing it to death. Our boy highlights the importance of striking numerous times to ensure a successful kill. Zhang Qi looks back to ask how they're doing, to which our boy replies that they should know the answer themselves. However, a zombie is rushing to attack him from his blind side, causing Zhang Qi to shout and alert him. The mindless beast is inches away from biting his shoulder. But even then, Xiaoyang quickly turns back and grabs him by the head, displaying no signs of fear in his approach. Once again, he uses this as a lesson to teach them the importance of keeping an eye on their surroundings. The rest of them are amazed by his incredible reflexes and quick thinking abilities. Okay, let's go and see what the boss is doing. Boss is over here regretting his life's choices, as he spots a bunch of vehicles stopped right outside the fortress. This makes him wonder if Xiaoyang has already been killed by another party. Suddenly, he hears a bunch of people talking to each other. He recognizes one of the voices as Xiaoyang's and slowly draws near to see what's going on. Spying on the group from behind a car, he can't believe what he's seeing. Xiaoyang and his team are hunting down zombies without much struggle. Unbeknownst to this unlucky guy, Wen Shuya's zombified corpse crawls out from under the car and grabs his leg. This bitch really doesn't know how to die. She causes him to trip and fall. Left completely defenseless, the boss braces himself as the zombie hastens to feast on him. Right as she's about to kill him, her head gets blown to bits. It's Xiaoyang, who came just in time to save his life. The boss shoves her headless corpse to the side, while our boy questions what he's even doing here of all places. The boss explains his situation, but before he gets to say anything, Xiaoyang unfortunately spots his infected bite mark. He puts the gun over his head, stating that he's already a lost cause. The boss begs him to at least hear him out before shooting. Even though Xiaoyang is willing to give an ear to his request, he's not going to let this guy come near him. Filled with grief, even the boss understands that he's done for. The clock is ticking down for him to become a zombie. But the last thing he wants is for his family to experience the same tragic fate. He reveals how Yang Tao terrorized his family and is currently holding them hostage in exchange for Xiaoyang's supplies. Even though Zhang Shengji has done a lot of bad things in his life, he's never done anything close to what Yang Tao is doing right now. In any case, his family is innocent, but he knows that Yang Tao won't spare their lives. That's why he's begging for help, for Xiaoyang to take mercy and save his family. The situation is conflicting for our protagonist. He understands that Zhang Shengji is a selfish man, but at the same time, he did help out with the delivery of the supplies. What's more is that even though his team is well made, the ratio between men and women is unequal. Xiaoyang thinks that improvements could be made in light of that. He gets even happier after receiving a system mission to protect the boss's family, allotting him 25 points for completion. There's also his current mission, which is to kill all the undead lurking outside his base. Anyway, Xiaoyang agrees to take responsibility for the boss family. Hearing such words, the soon-to-be infected Zhang Shengji plummets to the ground, forever grateful for his actions. But now, it's time. Even the boss knows that he'll be infected soon, and he doesn't want to die a human's death. Understanding his situation, Xiaoyang orders Shanshan to grab a bike from the storage room. She doesn't get his intentions, but she goes to grab one anyway. As for our boy, he tells the boss to isolate himself from the crowd in a place where no one can reach him. Even though he doesn't explain the reason why, he thinks it's the best strategy to use before he becomes infected. Accepting his suggestion, the boss thanks him once again. In the next scene, we can see Zhang Shengji racing off on his bike. He's slowly turning into an infected, and his final thoughts before turning into one are those of his family. With him gone, Xiaoyang turns to the pile of zombies that they've all killed. Pouring gasoline on top of their corpses, he decides to burn all of them to ashes. The team has officially conducted a proper training session. Xiaoyang has become confident in their ability to fend off a bunch of isolated zombies without any problems, as long as they work together. However, with their current skill, they'll be unable to take on a small horde or even a zombie wave. That's going to need some time to adapt to. Xiaoyang tells his team to follow him, and in the next scene, they're facing yet another one of his storage rooms. Our boy uses the old geezer to watch over the weapons storage room for tonight, as he'll be heading over to the city. Of course, Shanshan's grandpa is worried that he's leaving off to a destroyed city. It doesn't make any sense for him to do that. Jiang Qi and Four Eyes volunteer to tag along for the mission too, but our boy refuses them, stating that it's a level of danger beyond their current skill. That's why he's leaving them to just protect the fortress until then. With that settled, a few minutes later, he's already in his car with his weapons prepared for the hunt. For the first time in forever, the store is empty, and even the refreshing option takes a while. This time, he decides to spend points to refresh everything. When he does, he is welcomed by a bunch of new loot boxes that he'd never seen before. Among them is the Black Tech box, a life-saving box, and an armed threat box. Also, with every manual refresh, the cost doubles, which means he'll have to be careful about how he uses the feature. Xiaoyang still thinks it's a good idea to spend all of his points on the fancy new crates. For now, he purchases only the Black Tech supply box, leaving him with 6 points left. He opens the box and discovers a physical enhancement potion, this time with a 5-point increase. It's an even bigger jump from last time. Reaching superhuman levels of strength, Xiaoyang injects himself with the potion. His body succumbs to the potion's effects, making him stronger than ever before. Our boy's destination is actually the boss's house. His wife and child are quivering in fear, hoping for Zhang Shengji to resolve everything. After a while, Yang Tao and his goons arrive into the room, while the defenseless lady questions what they're going to do next. Forcing his way upon the weapon, this piece of filth tells her that they're going to enjoy her while her husband's away. The poor woman tries her best to fend them off, begging them to stop what they're doing. We pick up the story with these thugs tearing Xiaoli's clothes without a hint of shame, while her desperate son struggles to shove one of them away. Right at that moment, the guy with the ponytail, known as Li, shows up, asking what all the noise is about. One of the goons answers, saying they're about to have some fun, and invites Li to join in. But the ponytail guy tells him that the job isn't finished yet, so there's no time for messing around. They better focus and get to work. The goon gets annoyed and asks why it's a problem, since they've done this kind of thing many times before. The ponytail guy gets pissed off to see this horny gorilla not catching the gist of the situation. He reminds the goon that he's messing with Zhang Xingzhe's wife and kid. He warns the goon that if she can't handle it and tries to kill herself, Zhang Xingzhe will have nothing left to lose. He'll come after them all, and nobody's getting out of that alive. He gives the horny gorilla some hope, saying that once they deal with her husband, they'll come back and work her to the bone, not letting her rest for a single day. The horny gorilla calls Li party pooper for ruining the mood, but he decides to take the advice anyway. With that, the goons start walking out of the room. One of them shoots her a creepy look, telling her to wait for her turn. The mother and son are left helpless, with nothing to do but cry. As night falls, the zombies start to roam the streets, and in these desolate roads, our boy is cruising in his car. He's deep in thought, reflecting on his recent gains. With 13 points in stamina, he's now got more than twice the strength of an average person, and his reaction time and control have improved significantly. He's zooming through the cluttered streets, drifting his car around corners, feeling the rush of adrenaline with every turn. The entire place is crawling with zombies, so our boy decides it's time to get out of the car. The city center is ahead, and driving would attract too much attention, so it's time to go on foot. Just then, he hears roars. He turns around and sees two zombies charging at him. But our guy isn't fazed. He dashes to avoid the direct hit, locks his shoulder into one of the monsters, and throws it hard enough to knock over another zombie. Quickly, he summons his sword and charges at them once again, going full throttle. With one swing, both zombies lose their heads in an instant. These zombies have become nothing more than punching bags for our boy to test his newfound strength and reflexes. He's amazed at how easily he's overpowering them now. There's no doubt in his mind that he's gained more than twice the physical strength of an average person. On top of that, his instincts have sharpened, and with his enhanced hearing, he can tell that the place he's looking for is only about 800 meters away. Meanwhile, a group of zombies is relentlessly banging their heads against the window door of a grocery store. Inside, the survivors are doing their best to fortify the front gate, piling heavy objects in front to keep it secure, hoping it'll hold long enough for them to figure out a way out. The terrified brat asks his father if they're going to die here, to which the father tries to reassure him, saying that these sons of witches can't get in, and even if they do, it's still a win because they'll be reunited with his mother. Of course, the father's words don't offer much comfort, and the brat starts crying even louder. The officer gets annoyed and can't believe what the father just said without thinking it through. He's irritated by the brainless nonsense this father told his son. But the sassy father shoots back, saying if he had enough brain cells to think before speaking, he would have been a property manager by now. By now, even the officer starts to worry that they might actually die here. Just as the tension peaks, they hear gunshots. One of the zombies clinging to the door has its head obliterated, and the brat falls to the ground in shock, while the father is left clueless about what just happened. The officer tells them to move the heavy stuff aside to see who's outside and warns them not to make any noise. As they carefully peek through the gate, they realize that all of the nearby zombies have been dealt with, so they cautiously step out. The brat starts shouting something about a mutant. The father quickly asks what he's talking about, and the son explains that it's a stronger and faster version of a regular zombie, just like in the comics, novels, and games. The father gets annoyed by his entertainment-obsessed son and snaps back at him, wondering how he can still be talking about games and stuff even in the face of danger. He's now sure that this is why his son always had the worst grades. The officer turns to the father, telling him to stop bickering, and asks how the hell grades are relevant right now. He urges them to hurry up and keep a close watch on their surroundings, since they don't want that mutant to ambush them. Don't forget that this father's name is Old Song, so we will be calling him that. As they move forward, the officer warns them once again to stay alert and keep an eye on their surroundings as they slowly head toward the base. When they reach a fork in the path, they stop. The father looks across the street and spots a boy standing there. It's none other than our boy, who's clearly busy with his system, adding points and adjusting his stats. At that moment, the brat starts shouting that it's a mutant zombie. But the officer, being the only one with enough brain cells, quickly realizes that this guy definitely looks like a survivor, not a zombie. It seems like these guys have caught our boy's attention. He chuckles at the brat for mistaking him for a mutant zombie, and tells the kid to stop letting his imagination run wild. The officer perks up with relief, realizing it's actually a survivor. Moving cautiously, he approaches our boy and tells him it's too dangerous to be out here alone. He advises him to come with them, as they need to stick together if they want to survive. He invites him to join their group. Zhang Xiaoyang asks the group about their identity, as he has no clue who they are or why only a few of them are stuck here. While scanning the area, the officer explains that they're out looking for supplies, and that there are still quite a few civilians gathered at Rongxiang Garden. The mention of Rongxiang Garden triggers a memory for Zhang Xiaoyang, and he recalls that there's a Junyu mansion nearby, not far from where they are now. Old Song agrees, saying it's just across the street. He then tells Zhang to come with them, stressing that there's strength in numbers. Officer Li has a gun, and with their experience dealing with mad zombies, they're confident they can protect him. Seems like they just don't know about our boy's background, and even our boy does not try to boast his title and just humbly agrees to this. Later, they move forward cautiously. Old Song asks Zhang Xiaoyang why he wants to go to Junyu Mansion, wondering if there's someone important he's trying to find. Zhang Xiaoyang replies with a simple yes, and Old Song follows up with another question, asking if it's a relative or a girlfriend. Old Song reminds him that it's the end of the world, so whoever he's looking for is probably already dead, and he better prepare himself mentally for that. The officer grits his teeth and agrees, saying that even if they weren't killed by the Ravagers, they could have encountered those beasts. The mention of beasts catches Zhang's attention, and he asks for clarification. Officer Li reveals that a group of thugs is holed up in the Buyu Mountain Villa area in the east of the city. To survive, they don't hesitate to harm other survivors, and they ran into them once, losing many of their companions at their hands. The man decides not to talk about it any further, reminding everyone that they must stay vigilant when encountering other survivors. Suddenly, the brat shouts for the officer to be careful. As the officer spins around, he notices a zombie lunging at him. The officer quickly takes it down with a few well-placed shots. Officer Li pants heavily after the close encounter, his heart racing as he'd thought he was done for. However, it seems the gunshots have attracted the attention of nearby zombies, and the officer quickly falls into panic mode. But right at that moment, he spots an abandoned bus. Everyone rushes toward the bus. Zhang Xiaoyang grins as he thinks ahead of them. In his mind, running recklessly could attract even more zombies, but the bus, as a closed shelter, is perfect for defense. The only downside is that if it falls, there's nowhere to retreat. After weighing the pros and cons of the decision, Zhang decides to give this emergency plan a score of 70. Everyone has already made it into the bus when Officer Li tells him to hurry and keep up. At that moment, Zhang Xiaoyang jumps into the bus, and Officer Li quickly slams the door shut behind him. The officer warns everyone to be cautious and check each seat for any hidden Ravagers, but the brat quickly shouts that the zombies are not giving up. They're still gathering outside. Officer Li grits his teeth in frustration, realizing that despite their fast escape, the zombies are still hot on their trail. The zombies begin banging on the bus, trying to break in. With each passing second, the number of zombies increases, and the officer does his best to keep the gate closed, but it looks like this is just too much for the poor officer. That's when Jiang extends his hand and slams the door with such force that the zombies are pushed back, and the door is completely sealed. Officer Li is left stunned, his jaw hanging in disbelief at such incredible strength. Zhang Xiaoyang then comes up with a plan, and states that he's blocking the door to keep it shut, and suggests that they should smash the windows and fight back. Surprisingly, the officer agrees and decides to place some faith in Zhang Xiaoyang. At that moment, they shatter the bus windows, and zombies trying to cling to the bus are struck on the head by Old Song. The others assist Old Song, making sure he doesn't topple off while hanging out the window. Officer Li, however, is holding back on using his bullets, as he doesn't have many left and wants to reserve them for when things get dire. That's when Zhang Xiaoyang pulls out a crossbow and tells Officer Li to use it. The officer is bewildered, not understanding how this guy seemingly pulled the bow out of nowhere. Zhang casually explains that he just picked it up earlier. With that, Old Song and Officer Li join in, using the crossbow and their own strength to clear out the zombies. After a while, they manage to defeat all of the zombies, and finally, they make it out of the bus they had been using as shelter. The brat, feeling absolutely confident and full of himself, believes they've just turned a dangerous situation into a safe one. He's convinced this can't be a coincidence, and that they must be the children of fate in this apocalypse. My guy then tells everyone to stay cautious and not make the same careless mistakes again. Meanwhile, back at the fort, everyone is hoping that things go smoothly for Zhang Xiaoyang. Lu Yiming decides to keep watch that night. The glasses guy asks why he's suddenly so enthusiastic, and Lu Yiming, annoyed by the teasing, tells him to stop talking nonsense. He reminds him that he had always been sincere with his duties. The fatty quickly gets humbled by his friend's reaction, and asks why Lu Yiming is getting so worked up over a bit of banter. Regardless, Uncle Sheng decides that since Lu Yiming is taking charge bravely, Everyone else should head back to their rooms and rest, so they can make the most of Yiming's help. Uncle Sheng then advises Lu Yiming to wake everyone up immediately if anything happens. As the night deepens, Lu Yiming sits idly, reflecting on how late it's gotten. Knowing that everyone must have already gone to sleep, he decides to get back to the main goal he's focused on, wanting to settle things before our boy returns. Meanwhile, the old man sleeps soundly with the key of the weapon room lying near his pillow. The old man doesn't even notice when Lu Yiming quietly opens the door to enter. As Lu Yiming approaches the old man's bed, he reaches out to grab the key. But to his surprise, the old man proves to be more alert than expected, waking up just before Lu Yiming can grab it. The old man asks what the hell he is doing, but before he can get any more words out, he receives a solid punch to the face from Lu Yiming. With the key now in hand, Lu Yiming runs as fast as he can, while the old man calls after him, demanding the key back. The commotion wakes others up, and the old man quickly reports to everyone that Lu Yiming has taken the key to the weapons room. They all run as fast as they can to catch that bastard, but the idiot throws a bunch of stuff in the way while running. Everyone chasing him stops right there. It's pretty hilarious though, because they could easily jump over these obstacles, but they just stand there like game characters refusing to enter a restricted area. Lu Yiming notices the nursery room on his way and figures he might as well go all the way since he's already doing this. He heads into the room where Chen Chong the zombie is lying on the bed, strapped down. As he tries to approach, the zombie suddenly retaliates with its free hand. Lu Yiming is taken aback because the second hand was supposed to be tied down, and he wonders if they made the straps too loose when they bound this freak. This actually makes him even happier though, because it saves him the trouble of untying the zombie. Meanwhile, the others finally make it past the obstacles, and what they find in the corridor is far from pleasant. They're frustrated that Lu Yiming went out of his way just to let Chen Chong out of the infirmary. The old man is regretting not realizing sooner that Lu Yiming was such a snake. But Shanshan tells him there's no point in regretting now. They need to focus on what to do next. Since all their weapons are locked in the warehouse, they should start by making sure that this zombie gets locked back in the infirmary. Uncle Sheng decides to use the method Zhang Xiaoyang taught them earlier. Stay careful and avoid letting the monster bite. With that in mind, they start walking toward the zombie. Zhang Qi quickly grabs the bastard by the neck, while the other two help hold its hands down. The old man contributes highest out of all, pointing towards the infirmary and telling them to drag the zombie back. With a countdown of 3, they push the zombie back into the infirmary and lock the door as securely as they can. Once the zombie is locked inside, one of them wonders if it's just him, or if restraining the zombie wasn't as hard as expected. Everyone else shares the same thought. But the old man reminds them that they've wasted so much time here, that little brat must have gotten all the weapons by now. Right at that moment, Lu Yiming shows up and questions the old man's audacity to call him a little brat. Sadly for everyone, the bastard finally has a gun in his hands. However, he seems annoyed by the fact that the storeroom only had one weapon, but he figures this one will be enough to deal with all of them. After he takes care of everyone, he'll take his sweet time searching for the other weapons. Lu Yiming points his gun at them, ordering them to move back into the room. Zhang Qi tries to reason with the bastard, reminding him that it was Zhang Xiaoyang who saved everyone and gave them a chance to live. But Lu Yiming reminds them that our boy always acts high and mighty. Saving their lives doesn't mean they have to serve him like slaves for the rest of their days. The old man also calls this bastard an ungrateful sucker. Meanwhile, inside the infirmary, Chen Chong seems to have his own plans, and it looks like he's about to intervene in the heated argument. But before anything can happen, the scene transitions to Rongxiang Garden, where Officer Li is giving precise directions to our boy, telling him how to reach Jinyu Mansion. He warns that the layout of the residential area is complicated, making it easy for zombies to hide, so he needs to be extra careful. Officer Li tells Jiang Xiaoyang that once he finds the people he's looking for, he should return to Rongxiang Garden to meet everyone. He advises Jiang to take the side gate of the community, not the main gate, for safety. Jiang thanks him and says he'll keep that in mind. As he begins walking his way towards his next destination, Old Song suggests helping him out, since he helped them fend off those zombies and save their lives. But Officer Li reminds him that they have no idea what the situation is like inside Jinyu Mansion. If they accidentally walk into a horde of zombies, everyone will be dead in no time. Zero Song asks why they're letting Jiang walk into what seems like certain death. Officer Li replies that he's already warned Jiang as much as he could, so all he can do now is feel pity for him. He adds, though, that they shouldn't overlook the skills Jiang has. He's clearly capable. Meanwhile, outside, the area is crawling with zombies, and inside, the goons who are taking Zhang Sheng's family hostage are getting annoyed to see that Zhang Sheng has not come back. The other thug doesn't care and says he's held his frustration in long enough, so tonight he's letting it all out on his wife, otherwise he won't be able to sleep. Seems like these idiots are just waiting for a dead man to return. One of them, though, seems smart enough to realize that Jiang might be dead since he went out alone. The other disgusting thug adds that when they clap her, they'll make sure to tie her up so she won't have a chance to kill herself. They have no idea when things might go south, so they decide to make the most of the time they have left. Meanwhile, the lady trembles, hearing the goons plotting against her. Ponytail finally gives his friends the green light to go, but he tells them to be careful and not let anything happen to the woman, especially not while doing anything naughty. Suddenly, Ponytail notices something unusual outside. As we peek outside, we see that all the zombies have mysteriously dropped dead. While this reason may be unknown to that bastard, we know exactly what's going on. Ponytail decides to take a look outside, wondering if it could be a rescue team. But before he can go any further, his life chapter ends right there. As he steps outside, he's met with a dagger slash that cuts his throat clean off, and his head rolls over the ground. Meanwhile, the other thugs in the room are ready to claim their prize. They look absolutely thrilled and aroused as they start undoing their belts. They yank her son away from her and slap her hard across the face for yelling. They throw the kid aside, but the little brat has some courage and is willing to fight with everything he's got. However, they kick him out, not wanting any more trouble, and slam the door shut behind him, leaving the poor kid outside. At that moment, the headless body of Ponytail collapses to the ground, leaving the kid frozen in shock. But what stuns him even more is the silhouette standing over the doorway. But there is nothing to fear about because it's our boy, Zhang Xiaoyang. Jiang looks at the kid and asks if Zhang Shengjie is his father. The boy stutters for a moment before managing to respond. Meanwhile, inside the room, the thugs have already started tearing the woman's clothes as she struggles to cover her up. One of them, cocky and smug, slaps her hard across the face, demanding her to scream out loud as they harass her. But the woman stays silent as she does not want her son to hear her suffer. Eventually, the thug just decides to go over her and then let his other buddies have their turns. But before he could do anything, the door slams open. One of the thugs thinks it must be the brat who kicked the door open, but before he can react, his head is cleanly sliced off, and he goes silent instantly. His friend, clueless about what just happened, asks why he's standing there like a fool and tells him to just kick the brat out. But what his friend doesn't know is that the guy has already lost his head and promptly collapses to the ground. The others are completely confused, not understanding what's going on. At that moment, Zhang Xiaoyang grabs one of them and slams him hard against the wall. The thug, who had been happily undoing his belt, stutters, asking Zhang's identity. But Zhang doesn't bother with an answer. Instead, he delivers a solid kick to the thug's face, knocking him out cold and finishing him for good. The scene transitions back to the fort, where Li Yuming is holding his gun against everyone. He tells them one last time to move, or he will shoot. The old man tells the others to just do as this bastard says and move to the room. However, Shanshan decides against this idea. The old man, though, insists she follow his orders since Li Yuming has the gun, but reassures her that he'll think of something later. Li Yuming just smirks disgustingly and reminds them that there's nothing to figure out. He threatens them, saying they haven't seen his ruthlessness and decisiveness yet, and that he will definitely establish his dominance. He decides to take the old man down first, since he's the one yapping the most. The other two standing behind the old man try to talk him out of it, but just as they're speaking, they hear a sound. Suddenly, the lock on the infirmary door begins to move, and with a loud swing, the door opens. To everyone's shock, it's Chen Chong, who had somehow used the key to free itself. They find it ridiculous that Chen Chong managed to unlock the door himself in his berserk state. It's clear that Chen Chong has a bone to pick with Li Yuming, and he locks his deadly glare onto the bastard. Li Yuming quickly points his gun, determined not to let a monster who can open gates at will live. He pulls the trigger, but to his despair, the gun jams, and he realizes he's about to get screwed. Before he can react, the monster lunges at him, tearing him apart and killing the bastard who's kept everyone on edge for the past few chapters. Not only does Chen Chong take out Li Yuming, but he also drags his lifeless body toward the infirmary. No one knows what's happening, and all they can do is watch in complete disbelief. Chen Chong, on the other hand, grabs the key to the infirmary door, tosses it aside, and he locks himself in, leaving everyone standing there bewildered. Meanwhile, Zhang Xiaoyang is done taking down the thugs and finally frees the wife. He then calls the kid over to him, but the protective mother holds her son close, asking Jiang what he plans to do with him. Jiang doesn't bother explaining and simply tells the kid to come over. The kid finally decides to trust him, assuring his mother it'll be all right. When he reaches Jiang, our boy hands him a dagger and tells him to kill these bastards. The thugs quickly realize what is coming for them next, so they start begging for their lives. Even the mother tries to protest, saying he's just a child. But Jiang states that he's no longer just a kid, and that everything changes from this moment. He tells the kid that, from now on, he's the one responsible for protecting his mother, so he needs to gather his courage and eliminate the monsters who hurt her. The disgusting smirks of those thugs flash in the boy's mind. Fueled by all his anger and courage, he charges at the bastards, and in the end, he takes them down, finally avenging his mother's suffering. The mother looks horrified as she watches her son, while the kid himself is consumed with anger. He knows that even after killing these bastards, his father isn't coming back. In a moment of grief and frustration, he asks Jiang if his father is pushing up daisies now. Sadly, Jiang responds with a somber yes. The boy, unable to handle the weight of it all, throws the bloodied knife to the ground. He rushes toward his mother and hugs her as tightly as he can, seeking comfort in her embrace. The mother, desperate to keep her son safe, pleads with Jiang to take him with him, offering to do anything he wants in exchange for her son's safety. But the boy, determined to stay by her side, says he wants to protect her. But Jiang invites both of them to come with him. He reveals that he had promised Jiang Shengzhe that he would keep them safe. With that assurance, the mother and son follow Jiang closely, walking past the dead bodies of the defeated thugs. The kid looks scared to see those bodies, and he is even more scared about the monster who killed these guys. Jiang, with his usual calm, replies that it was he who took down all of them. By the way, let's not forget that this kid's name is Shuai and his mother's name is Shaoli. Suddenly, Jiang gestures for them to stop, sensing some suspicious sounds nearby. He turns to Shaoli and asks if she knows where Building 8 in Banyan Garden is. The mother responds by reminding him that it's the same direction he is currently facing, and asks him why he's asking about it. The scene then shifts to Building 8, where a group of looters stands outside, demanding supplies from everyone inside. They assure the residents that they will spare them if they surrender their resources. Inside, our team is hiding in the apartments, debating whether they should give in. Officer Lee quickly shoots down the idea, saying that the looters are animals who won't keep their word and will kill everyone except the women. The thugs outside continue shouting, giving everyone just 10 minutes to cooperate or risk being killed. Inside, one of the women thinks about going outside to beg the looters to spare them. But the other protests, refusing to become a plaything for those animals. But the gorilla silences both of them, telling them not to worry. He assures them they aren't planning to surrender and tells them to guard the hallway, confident that the looters won't be able to get past them. Meanwhile, the gang leader of looters outside smirks to himself, thinking about how well armed they are. His lackey, however, knows their strength isn't enough to force their way in, as the leader of the survivors inside is armed. Not to mention they are hiding, making it even harder to force their way inside. But the leader just smiles as he says they don't need to force their way through. Instead, he orders his men to cut off the water supply to the first-floor apartments and waits to see how long they'll hold out. While these thugs plot their tactics, Zhang Xiaoyang stands nearby, watching these guys sneakily. Shuai innocently asks if these are bad people, to which Zhang responds positively. It's both humorous and ironic that Shuai is asking such an innocent question, especially considering he's the one who just killed 3 grown men with a dagger. One might expect some solid character development from the kid, but he still seems to have his childish charm. Zhang then reminds Shuai that these are the same kinds of people who bullied his mother, and that's why they need to be dealt with. Meanwhile, Officer Lee tells everyone to guard the stairs and stay hidden, as he plans to check out what these guys downstairs are up to. Officer Lai then walks over to the window and sneaks a peek outside, noticing that all 7 of them are armed, with 3 of them packing guns. But then, a loud bang echoes through the air, catching Officer Lee off guard. The rest of the group is just as confused, not knowing what's going on. As we know, though, these guys are getting ripped apart by bullets from Zhang Xiaoyang, and one of their men goes down. The others are left clueless about who just took them out. That's when Officer Lee spots Zhang Xiaoyang, gun in hand, making his way forward. My guy starts doing open fire, and one of the goons takes a direct headshot. When they spot him standing in the middle of their ring, they start shooting back with their pistols. But Zhang just keeps walking forward, unfazed, as not a single bullet even comes close to grazing him. This only makes him smirk at the sight of these amateurs. He raises his gun, aiming at the boss of the lackeys hiding behind the concrete block. But his bullets hit the block instead. The frustrated boss shouts at his lackeys, telling them to start firing while our boy is busy shooting him. The lackey eventually stands up straight, fully determined to take Jiang down himself. But Jiang quickly shifts his aim, pointing the barrel of his gun directly at the guy, and with one or few bullets, he blows the bastard's head off. The leader of the squad sneers from behind the concrete block, feeling smug as he thinks Jiang must be out of bullets by now. Confident, he decides to make his move, aiming his gun at Jiang. But Zhang Xiaoyang meets his gaze with a cold, unwavering stare, standing tall right in front of the guy. As soon as the thug pulls the trigger, Jiang moves his head with lightning speed, avoiding the shot. He grabs the thug's arm, the one holding the gun, and in a fluid motion, aims the same gun right under the bastard's neck. Without hesitation, Jiang pulls the trigger, sending a bullet through the guy's head. And just like that, the entire squad of criminals has been taken care of. Zhang then rummages through the leader's dead body, searching for anything useful. After that, he makes his way into the building, only to find that there are still some goons left from the squad. The remaining thugs launch themselves at him without a second, desperate to take him down. But Jiang doesn't even flinch. He stays rooted in place, unfazed. And all that breaks the silence are 3 quick gunshots, each perfectly placed, dropping the thugs on the spot. Watching all of this, Shuai is over the moon with excitement, clearly impressed with how our boy handled the fight. He can't help but admire him even more. Right then, a system task appears in front of our boy, revealing his next objective, which is to recruit survivors from Rongxiang. Completing this task promises a reward. Zhang Xiaoyang asks about these people, and Officer Li responds, explaining that they're from the Biquishan villas, located to the south of the city. Officer Li then quickly calls over the 2 yellow-jacketed men, Liu Chao and Chen Ji, telling them to brief Brother Yang about Biquishan since they ran over from the south. The 2 yellow-jacketed guys reveal that the people there are a gang, armed, well-resourced, and holed up in Biquishan villas, taking in nearly all the survivors from the south. This makes Zhang Xiaoyang pause, thinking back to his previous life. He wonders if Biquishan could be where Li Shuxian and Quijing's settlements were, and whether it could be them who took over. He asks the yellow-coated guys if they're implying that Biquishan is the only settlement left in the south now. The yellow-coated man replies that it wasn't always the case, but the gang had weapons, and the smaller settlements couldn't defend themselves. As they took over each place, they killed half the population, and then abducted the young and pretty women, and anyone who was willing to be complicit. Zhang Xiaoyang is certain about who is behind this, and when Officer Li hears his confident declaration, he asks what he means by it. Zhang replies that the 3 guys they just took down each had handguns, and he tells them to hold on to them and check for extra magazines, because there's probably more of them out there. He also gives them his rifle and tells Officer Li to keep it, and he'll leave them 5 magazines. Hong explains that the Biquishan crew won't let this go, and with these weapons, 10 or so men should not be an issue now. He tells them to hold out here for a couple of days while he reorganizes back home and then comes back to deal with that shitty crew. One of the men standing there is shocked and asks if Zhang is seriously planning to take on Biquishan. He points out that they're probably dozens strong, if not more, and it's no small task to go up against them. Officer Li tries to convince Zhang that it's not worth the risk for them. He suggests that they just find another place. Our boy reassures Officer Li not to worry about it, because he already has some beef with the Biquishan crew. Besides, in a few days, he plans to return with a bigger vehicle to evacuate everyone to the east of the city, near the old Tea Leaf City. He's building a stronghold there and will need people to help. With that, Zhang turns and walks away, offering a casual goodbye and telling them to take care of themselves. He also takes Xiaoli and Shuai with him. The scene transitions to a darker, more ominous setting. Dead bodies lie scattered around, and outside, a lone guard is on duty. The place he's guarding is none other than Biquishan. Inside the mansion, we see the people running this gang. Wenge, with his orange hair, is the boss of this place, and he asks why they haven't dealt with the supplies at the Jinyu Entertainment Center yet. Xiaoli, the overweight man, responds during a meeting, saying he's already sent people over, so they should be back by now. But little do they know, those people have already been wiped. The other guy, known as Kai Gay, addresses the fatty, and reminds him that there are quite a few high-end affiliates living over at Jinyu Mansion. They can't just take the supplies from the entertainment center without consequences. Xiaoli assures him that his people are already instructed to bring back anyone alive. The boss looks furious and openly expresses his disappointment with Xiaoli, frustrated that he still hasn't completed a single task assigned to him. Feeling the weight of Wen's anger, Xiaoli humbly promises that this time, everything will be handled perfectly, while Kaige smirks in the background, pleased to see Xiaoli sweating under the pressure. Once Xiaoli steps outside for some air, one of his lackeys notices his sour mood and asks why he looks so defeated. Xiaoli snaps back, asking if the 7 men he sent have returned. The lackey informs him that he sent people an hour ago to check, and they reported back that the whole squad has been wiped out. The news leaves Xiaoli stunned and terrified. He can't believe that regular civilians from Rongxiang Gardens could take down 3 armed men. In a panic, he commands his lackey, Taozi, to gather everyone who can handle weapons. This time, he's determined not to let the mission fail. Meanwhile, Zhang Xiaoyang finally makes his way back to the base. As soon as Shanshan hears the sound of the car, she quickly realizes that it must be Brother Yang returning. When Jiang enters the boundary of his fort, the mission window pops up, notifying him that the mission has been completed successfully. Shanshan greets him, happy to see him back, but Jiang quickly notices that Lu Yiming is missing from the crowd. My guy feels absolutely glad to see that his hunch about that snake was spot on. Everyone is shocked when they realize that Jiang knew about Lu Yiming all along. Jiang then points to Xiaoli and Shuai, asking the others to show them to their rooms and then meet him in the infirmary. Once he's alone with his party, Jiang explains that he had known from the start that Lu Yiming had ill intentions. While he admits that he wasn't entirely sure it was him, he was certain that one of Jiang Qi's friends was a scumbag. Zhang Xiaoyang then throws a big gun towards Jiang Qi. As Bleachhead catches it and examines the bullets, he quickly realizes they're rubber bullets. The old man's mind clicks and quickly asks about the kid Chen Chong, who's inside the infirmary. Jiang strides confidently toward the infirmary, casually mentioning that Chen Chong isn't an ordinary zombie. Instead, he's a rare mutant, a fact my guy had already confirmed some time ago. He had asked the zombie to blink 3 times, and to his surprise, the zombie complied. Jiang explains that after the apocalypse, those infected by otherworldly sources have a slim chance of becoming rare mutants. These mutants usually possess far greater intelligence and potential than regular zombies. They may even retain fragments of their past memories, and Chen Chong is exceptionally rare among the rare. Jiang then opens the door, and the first thing they see is Chen Chong standing over the head of the man who had been causing trouble. The zombie quickly waves his hand upon seeing Jiang. Jiang orders him to stop holding back, saying there's no need to restrain himself and he should get rid of this bastard now. As the mutated guy begins dragging that snake out, his bleached head friend asks him if he remembers him, and the zombie's feet falter as he stops and looks at Jiang Qi. No one can figure out what's going on in the zombie's mind. Abruptly, he swings his hand at the bleachhead, who barely dodges it in time. It seems that Chen Chong is just messing with his old friend, which explains to Jiang Qi how even as a zombie, he still can't keep his hands to himself. Later, Zhang Xiaoyang is staring at his system screen. Zhang Chai unlocks a hidden achievement titled Mutual Companion, and the achievement is completed, adding system points to Zhang's total. Jiang is surprised to see that he's unlocked a hidden achievement, a nice little bonus. Curious, he decides to check if the shop has anything new. Upon looking, he notices a level 2 box labeled High-Tech Supply Box, something he's never seen before. However, it's expensive, and Zhang hesitates to spend his hard-earned 50 points on it. Instead, he opts to open the remaining 2 boxes first, figuring they won't take up space anymore. As he opens both of them, he receives 2 unexpected items. The Lifesaver Supply Box grants him an interdimensional infection blocker, which offers a chance to block otherworldly infections, but can't reverse mutations that are already complete. The Armed Deterrent Supply Box surprises him even more as it contains a Barrett M82, a powerful sniper rifle, along with a bundle of bullets. Jiang is amazed at his crazy luck. Not only does he receive a game-changing weapon from a level 1 box, but the infection blocker is a real deal breaker. The idea that it could potentially stop someone from fully turning into a zombie excites him. This stroke of fortune fills him with confidence, making him even more eager to open the level 2 box. He can barely contain his excitement, but he knows he has a mission to focus on first. His current task is to recruit survivors from Rongxiang Garden, and he's looking forward to completing it tomorrow. Outside, Chen Chong tosses the snake out of their fort's vicinity, since there's no place for traitors like him. As morning arrives, everyone gathers in the training grounds. From the old to the young, each person is armed and ready. Zhang announces that starting today, everyone must spend at least an hour practicing their shooting daily. They begin firing at target bottles, and each hit creates a flash of light. It's impressive to see the cans visibly hit, but not exploding from the shots. Zhang turns to Uncle Sheng, instructing him to have Jiang Qi gather everyone and clear a few more rooms, as he plans to bring back survivors from Rongxiang Garden today. The old man promptly agrees, ready to carry out Jiang's orders. Jiang also orders Chen Chong to accompany him on the escort mission, knowing the mutant zombie's strength and abilities will come in handy. Later, they finally find an abandoned bus, currently overrun by mindless zombies. But Jiang clears the zombies with ease, and Chen Chong helps by throwing the creatures out of the bus as well. Once the bus is cleared, Jiang hands Chen Chong the bus keys, telling him that he can take off his mask if he wants to now, as there's no need to restrain himself. However, he adds that once they reach Rongxiang Garden, he should make sure to put the mask back on so he doesn't scare anyone. The mutant guy acknowledges the order with a growl. Meanwhile at Bikuishan, Xiaoli is gearing up to depart for Rongxiang Garden, accompanied by a group of lackeys. This time, Xiaoli is personally leading the charge, determined to take down Rongxiang Garden once and for all. He refuses to believe that he's going to lose, not with the numbers and weaponry he has at his disposal. Their truck roars to life and speeds out of the compound, headed for Rongxiang Garden. After cleaning up and hijacking a random bus filled with zombies, Zhang Xiaoyang hopped on the driver's seat and quickly got to work. He saw a few more zombies clogging the highway and did not even think of stepping on the brakes for a single second. Our boy mowed through those mindless monsters like the gigachad that he is. With his enhanced reaction speed, he used the bus to drift and swerve through the plethora of abandoned cars blocking his personal freeway. Back in Rongxiang Garden, the high-rise building seemed peaceful from the outside. Inside, the group of survivors led by the reliable cop, Big Bro Lee, are currently munching on their rations, careful not to burn through their limited supplies all at once. Their mealtime was interrupted by the loud sound of a car engine coming from outside. The kid reckoned that brother Xiaoyang must have come back to rescue them. Thankfully, Big Bro Li has a good head between his shoulders. He grabbed his AK-47 and signaled everyone else to be silent while he checked out the situation first. With utmost caution, he slowly peeked his head above one of the windows with a clear line of sight outside. What he saw was not their savior but a group of thugs hungry for revenge. They are checking their weapons and looking for building number 8. Upon confirmation, the thugs took arms, and upon confirming their target location, Li Shuxiang ordered his men to move out. Big Bro Li was stressed out. Just when he thought they could leave their hiding spot to join Brother Yang's fortress, the bastards from Bichui Mountain showed up. Old Song raised his pilfered pistol, ready to face the scumbags who just can't learn their lesson. Now that they have a few guns distributed among the group, the survivors have gained quite a bit of confidence. Big Bro Li yelled at the fake tough civilians to not get cocky. Right outside is a whole battalion that outnumbers and outguns them by a mile. He reminded everyone to stick to the plan, and as he headed to the rooftop, he set up an ambush. Outside, the Bichui Mountain Battalion gauged if they had reached the optimal distance to terrify the survivors holed up in the building. Led by Li Shuxiang, they collectively raised their scoped weapons, carefully aiming at the numerous windows of building number 8. Old Song peeked through the window and immediately screamed at everyone inside to be careful and take cover. The silent morning was interrupted by the sound of automatic weapons firing wildly into the high-rise. Every window within range was shattered, pushing Old Song back deeper. After the first wave of warning shots, Shuxiang ordered one of his lackeys to hand over the megaphone. While he negotiates a deal, the others must keep aiming and wrecking the windows with the intent of shooting anyone who dares to show their face. Shuxiang arrogantly spoke to the mic, demanding the attention of the survivors hiding inside.